Craig Jones, the animal himself. Welcome to the podcast, dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
So this isn't well, I guess this, as in Gypsy Tales, isn't exactly like a grappling jiu-jitsu podcast. So we kind of have a lot of different, more like action sporty sort of people come on it, like Pastrana and Kerry Hart and stuff. So it's like people love to get into like their mindset because of the extreme sort of shit that those guys do. But one of the things I'm sort of trying to, I guess, like, not preach, maybe that's the wrong word, but I don't think people get how hard jiu-jitsu is, like the level that you do it. And I think that a lot of the stuff that people maybe take away from like the Gypsy Tales podcast is like the mindset that those guys have. And I think that of all the sports that I'm involved with and film and follow, watching you compete and like the body language and the way that you are before matches, you're one of the more interesting people I've ever seen compete. So I just wondered where like that mindset comes from. We sort of half talked about it getting coffee, but...
Is that because I look like relaxed or something?
Yeah, you're just so fucking cruisy, dude. And it's almost to like... I just wonder whether that's strategic. Is that like, you're a pretty laid back dude, your personality wise, but it's like... The way that you compete, like there's no hype up, there's no fucking thrash metal going on in the background, there's no, and like you walk out and you're like, hey dude, like it's a super, I think it's very unique to you in not just jiu-jitsu but in fucking sport, man. Like I really don't see a lot of people that carry themselves the way that you do right before go time.
I just try and get myself in the mind frame that I am before training.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Really try and keep everything as similar as possible. Like a lot of people have the same amount of coffee, or maybe they have Red Bull before they train, so they try and match up a competition. I just try and keep the same mindset. That helps me forget about sort of the situation at hand. But I guess I am nervous on the inside, but trying my best to have fun, turn it into fun.
Yeah, so is it like, I guess that's what kind of has me wondering, is like, is it a conscious decision that you're making to where like, yeah, you are nervous, but then you're gonna, like, this is like this practice that you have got for yourself where like your pre-game routine is to look like you don't give a fuck?
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I am nervous, but I don't let it bother me too much because I never expected to make it this far. So I'm just trying to appreciate every moment as it comes. I guess the Palhares build up to the Palhares match I was probably the most nervous for.
Is that because that was like the most hyped fight? Because I guess like Quintet was pretty big for you. But you had 4 other dudes on the team, right, to kind of take a bit of the heat off.
That one's fun. That's like that's way more relaxed because I guess a lot more guys are willing to take risks and let themselves get submitted, especially if they've already gone out and won a match. So you know what I mean? You're happier to take risks. Whereas if it's just a pure one-on-one match, or maybe it's a different style of tournament, not a team tournament, then you really feel the pressure not to lose. Yeah, it's just you out there. But that team environment makes it a lot more fun. So I enjoy that a lot more than I enjoy regular competition. Yeah.
Now that makes sense. And I think too, like the thing with jiu-jitsu as well is, especially like, so tomorrow I'm doing the pan packs and I got 10 dudes in the division, and if I don't win the first match I just fucking go home. And like that's pretty unique. Like there's not a lot of sports that I've participated in anyway, where it's like you're out in 5 minutes, or you could have 5 fights and win a gold medal, or 6 fights. So it's like, because you did a lot of IBJJF stuff, right? Like that's sort of what you first did when you first started competing.
Yeah, back in the day. So I know all about that horrible build-up where you could lose in 1 minute and that's you done for the entire weekend. Yeah. It's the most brutal shit ever. Yeah, so that's where I'm at for this weekend. But is that like, did that help then your mindset? Like, because I mean, I've only done a few comps and I'm actively trying to figure out what I should be doing. Like I was saying when we were walking before, that the last comp I did, I was so fucking focused, and because I wasn't used to like expecting to win. And man, I'd see it all the time. Like, and I wonder if you have now. I'd say you'd be at the level where you expect to win every match, right? Yeah, I definitely expect to win every match. In terms of the IBJJF events, I always think of that Ricky Bobby quote: "If you aim first, you're last."
It's so true.
So it doesn't matter. A silver medal doesn't mean much. So it doesn't matter if you show up and lose in the first round or you lose in the final. Either way, you got to look at it like a loss. So when you adopt that mindset, it makes it a lot easier dealing with that first match pressure. You know what I mean? You showed up to win. So if you lose in the first match or you lose in the final, it's like either way, you've achieved a similar result. I guess on social media, people will hustle silver medals and stuff, but on the inside, they're not really happy with a silver medal.
Man, I said to my coach the other day, so I lost in the final and got a silver medal, and I put it on my fucking dash of my car, and I was like, I'm just going to look at this bitch on the way to training, because that to me was like the biggest, like most loser medal ever. But I think like there's definitely a point though, and I wonder if you reach this in your career, because especially in motocross, like I'd work with dudes, like, have you ever followed like supercross or motocross or any of that kind of stuff?
I haven't. I think I played some video games when I was growing up.
So you're pretty much an expert.
Yeah.
But like, there's dudes, right? And like I was saying, like, you know, if I'd race, I'd be like, I know I'm going to get like 10th. And that's like the ceiling. And there's guys where the talent and the fitness and the speed and the bike, like the whole recipe is like, they're just better. And I had a ceiling and I knew where it was. And I didn't go to a race expecting to win or even hoping to win. I just went there with like no pressure. It was unattainable. And then you switch into Jiu Jitsu, and I have had a couple wins, and then now you legitimately just expect to win. And then I went to the last comp I did with that mindset, and it like fucking buckled me, because all I cared about was winning. I didn't even. It was funny, like I wasn't even concentrating on like technique and shit, or thinking about like a game I wanted to play or anything. It was like literally winning was the only thing. So it's like it's hard to like manage that expectation on yourself, and it's sort of I think it's hard because you're right. If you're not first, you're last, and jiu-jitsu is like a weird game like that. And a lot of the times too, well, I guess nowadays you know the dudes that you're fighting essentially, so I guess you can probably do a little bit more prep. But back in the day when you were competing, like you just sort of show up and you don't know who you got.
Yeah, back in those days I used to, if I looked too much into my opponent, I would be too defensive. I'd worry too much about what they were going to do, and I might shell up but not do anything. So if we're dealing with that style of tournament, I'd rather not know what they're good at. Like there's a guy, Harry Gretsch here, who's just does Kimuras, basically finishes most of his matches Kimuras. Excellent Kimuras. A guy like that, I'd want someone to tell me, hey, he's amazing at this one move, but don't be too cautious about it. Yeah, but if I approached every opponent skill set with the same mind frame that I'd approach a specialist like that, I would get nothing done in the match. So you got to be careful not to know too much.
Yeah. With the Palhares match, were you like actually legitimately nervous? Because like it became a fucking meme, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that was like one of the first, since I've been really following the sport, like the first like jiu-jitsu meme that really went around. Like everybody was posting a Palhares pic, and you were like reposting all of these memes. I suppose Kit Dale's the first meme in jiu-jitsu, really, right?
Yeah,
but
I would say so.
After Kit Dale. But people had a fucking field day with the whole Palhares thing, because he showed up on the gram with that photo looking like a fucking gorilla, and then you're just like, the fuck? And there was like the whole weight thing. But so did that one actually legitimately make you nervous? Like you were worried about it?
I was always nervous about Palhares since back in 2011, like when he just ripped everyone's legs apart.
Because he don't give a fuck, huh?
Exactly. So leading up, like the first time I qualified for ADCC, everyone was like, "Oh, congratulations!" And I was like, oh, "Fuck! I hope Palhares isn't in this." Like, I come out and break my leg, and I had the same thought process even for the last ADCC. But after hanging with some of the top level guys, I really was like, if they do offer me a Palhares match, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I don't accept it. So I was nervous, but at the end of the day, I mean, I might take a very bad injury if he holds on the submission. Obviously, he got kicked out of the UFC because he doesn't let go of submissions. But like,
is that what happened?
Yeah, he got banned from the UFC.
I never knew that. What a fucking crazy dude.
So yeah, I believe he's injured a lot of people. He would hold on the submission 3-4 seconds after.
What do you think that is? Like, is that? Like,
I don't know. I sympathize with him, right? Because in my mind, if you're like Palhares, you're not a striker. We're going into MMA, which is predominantly a striking sport. It rewards the striker. He goes out there, he takes some hits to get him down. He maybe takes some hits on the ground. He finally gets a grip on a submission. And the guy's like, no, that's it. It's over.
But he can fuck you up.
Yeah, Palhares is like, well, I've just been punched in the head 10 times to get your leg. I want to do some damage back. So I don't know if that's his thought process. He's getting hit. And, you know, I mean, you see it in jiu-jitsu, like two guys are rolling. One guy's maybe going too hard. Maybe he's kicking you in the head, elbowing you in the head. You get mad. You see these guys get mad, and then when they grab something, they rip it. So if you took that thought process to MMA, you took those sort of guys to MMA, it's probably going to be the extreme end of that. I guess in the heat of the fight, it's very hard once a guy's inflicted a lot of damage on you for you to just be like, all right, now I'll let you go. I'll go home with a headache and you go home.
Yeah, just scot-free. You just get the tap. Yeah, no, I've never thought of it like that. It's interesting, like, you come across as a dude that's so casual and cruisy in the way that you like interact with people. You're very laid back. You're always kind of smiling, but I get the impression from like listening to stuff that you've done that you actually really think about not just like the technical aspect of jiu-jitsu, but more so like that mental stuff. Like I haven't really thought of, Palhares in that kind of way. Like, are you a dude that is like a deep thinker when it comes to this sort of stuff?
I guess so. I just try and work out what maybe is going on there. You know what I mean? What, like, why would he be holding on to these submissions? And I guess it's easy to just be like, oh, he's a crazy guy. You know what I mean?
That is the easy knee-jerk thing, right?
Yeah, but I guess trying to understand it. But I mean, I met him and he doesn't speak very good English, obviously, so I couldn't ask him. I was like, what are you, like, why are you holding on to that shit? Please don't do it to me.
But I guess, like, dude, there is the issue in jiu-jitsu where, like, you've got to finish because, I mean, the technique is good, but when you're up against like a really strong guy, like you need to be muscling that shit. And like, say you're a smaller dude that's trying to Kimura a big dude, or like you're trying to go for a heel hook on Palhares, those legs that's big legs. Like you do have to put like a big effort in to finish on a world-class guy that is also, potentially bigger and stronger. So it's like, I mean, yeah, there's even been times where I've training where I've like thought I'm a bit of a dick for doing that, but it's like shit, like do you want to finish, like you want to take the technique all the way to the end, and sometimes that does require a bit of extra effort,
Oh, for sure. If it's a competition, I'm going to rip everything as hard as I can until I feel any sort of tap or verbal tap. And if you have any other thought process, they're going to slip out of submissions, because you got guys like the Meow brothers, H. Agazam. If you take them to the point where you think they're going to tap, and that might be the point where you feel bones breaking, that ain't enough for those guys. You know what I mean? So if you hesitate, they're going to slip straight out of the submission.
And there's guys too, like even in our gym, man, like I've seen some elbows go backwards off arm bars and you just let go of them because you're like, you know what, fuck all that. Like, but some dudes, they don't care. They'll go out on their shield too. So it's like, it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's like violent, but there's definitely like a level of commitment that both people have to have to the match, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think at this level, the level I compete at, if there's a joint lock submission going on, we're both accepting something's going to pop. It's just not going to be, hopefully, as much damage as the average person probably thinks is going to happen. I see so many guys in jiu-jitsu get severe injuries and come back immediately. Come back like nothing happened. Because the beauty of jiu-jitsu is like, we're not sprinters. Like, you tear an ACL and you're trying to sprint or zigzag, that's an impossible, right? But jiu-jitsu, you could take a severe injury and find a different way to play the game.
Yeah, and you can work around stuff.
For sure,
like, there's a guy at our gym, Steve, and he's like an older dude, and he's actually a fucking savage too, but he's had no ACL for ages, and he's like in his, I want to say he's like mid to late 40s. And it's like, you wouldn't, you're right. Like, there's not a lot of sports where you can just get back to that, right?
I don't think not that I can think of another sport in the world where I've seen so many people with terrible injuries that are still effective at a high level. You know what I mean? Some of these guys don't even go to the doctor. They don't even get it scanned. It could be a horrible injury, but they just have faith that it'll come back eventually. Their body will just adapt. So it's crazy.
I think I'm just going to actually change this. A good example of that was Gordon in your EBI fight, where like that was about as tight as you could get an armbar. Like, did you think that you could have done that any better?
It wasn't as tight as you think. You know what I mean?
It looked tight.
It was. I think it did a little bit of damage. It damaged his arm, but I don't think it injured him. If you look at Tommy Langlacker versus Dante Leon, that's an example of a guy getting his elbow snapped in half, and he just keeps going. Or like, obviously the classic example is Jacare and Hodja. Like, I didn't do anywhere near as much damage as Hodja did to Jacare, where Jacare's arm broke backwards the wrong way and he tucked it in his belt and fought the rest of the match. So it's like I probably torqued his elbow quite a bit, just not enough to break it, I guess.
Yeah, because that was crazy. Like, that was a cool thing to watch, like, as a jiu-jitsu fan too, because, I mean, there is, like, it's funny, like, if you reduce jiu-jitsu down to, like, what it is, it's just two dudes rolling around on the ground. If you reduce it down to make it sound as stupid as you can. And it's like, if you could do that to anything, like with golf, or you got a stick and a ball and you walk around for 4 hours. So, like, you can make everything sound pretty stupid.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that fight with Gordon was such a rad showcase of jiu-jitsu and, like, the real the grit and determination. And I think the thing that, like, really sucked me in with it is that you get to fight every day. And I mean, it might be different for you because of the level that you're at. You're 100% could roll through people instantly. So I mean, it's like, is it hard for you to go 100% every day, like just at a regular sort of day at this gym or St Kilda?
I can go 100%, but limit the scope of what I'm trying to do. So the scope might not be to win. It might be to take as many backs as possible. Yeah. Or hit an entry as many times as possible, or just work guard passing. So you can limit the scope and still go really, really hard.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I think, like, for a guy like me in my position, like, I'm going to walk into my gym and there's going to be, like, blue belts and purple belts and brown belts that will literally make my life fucking shit for 6 minutes. And it's 100%. And they're going hard and I'm going hard. But, like, if you look at a sport like boxing, you can't fight every day. Like, these dudes aren't getting in the ring with the crowd. I mean, not that we have the crowd around, but that the whole show isn't on display. You know, they're doing some pad work and they're doing this and that. But it's like Floyd Mayweather, every day that he trained in his career, didn't do 12 rounds with a guy that's as good as him. So I think that's like one of the... that's, I guess, what I like preach to people about maybe why people get so addicted to jiu-jitsu is because you actually get a chance to do your thing at 100% every time that you practice.
Yeah, it's why so many guys do the sport and don't compete. It's because you still get basically 90% of a real match without having to showcase it at an event, you know what I mean? So you can go really hard and have a pretty good idea of where your skills are. You're not going to know how you handle the psychological and adversity and stuff in that sense, but yeah, you have a pretty good idea of where your skill level is.
Everyone always says that comps are like a really good way to kind of like elevate your game. Do you think that competing is something that you should do, like if you do want to take jiu-jitsu serious? Because you're right, like you can be a weapon in the gym, and if you did go to a comp, your skill for skill, you'd be able to hang, but there is like a different sort of element to it, right? But do you think that by competing it does accelerate your learning?
Yeah, because I think anything that scares you is going to make you work harder, you know what I mean? If there's a goal you're scared of that you know you have to face, you're not going to half-ass it, you know what I mean? Like, so if you never competed, like how hard are you going to train? But if you know there's a comp in 3 months and you know you're at the risk of looking like an idiot to everyone in the audience or to your friends and family that might see you, even though no one really cares how you do, no one cares as much as you do, if you're really concerned about how you're going to look, you're going to train hard. Yeah. And then it's like if you're building through the ranks, it's why I would take a match like Balharas. If I took a less scary opponent, or an opponent I knew I could win, I might not beat easily. I might not train as hard. So anything that scares you, I guess, in this is going to make you push harder and harder.
It's funny that you said that no one really cares when you lose, because I think about that a lot when you're in that bullpen and you're kind of warming up and you can't really talk to anyone or whatever. It's just like that alone time. You feel like everyone's looking at you, but like in reality, they don't give a fuck. Like there might be 6 or 7 people from your team that care, and if you lose, they're still going to be like, oh dude, you tried pretty hard, like that's fine. But inside, like when you're in that little bullpen, like you really think that everyone is watching you, and if you lose, you suck to all those people. But in reality, it's really not like that.
Oh, for sure. And you even think that your teammates are going to feel you suck if you do poorly, but quite often you compete, you could lose or win, and you go to training the next day and nobody even knows how you went.
Yeah, true.
So it's like everyone's got too much of their own shit going on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all just like that, what you're building up in your own head, like what you're kind of placing importance on.
Exactly.
That isn't actually there.
Yeah, it's not important. Unless you're a black belt, it's the amateurs. So it's like, it's all trial and error up until that point.
When did you get into jiu-jitsu, and why did you start? Like, what drew you to it? Were you one of the guys that like saw the UFC and was like, fuck yeah, that's me, and kind of walked into a jiu-jitsu gym from there?
Yeah, basically I saw the UFC and wanted to just see what they were doing, because I grew up always watching martial arts movies and stuff. I did a tiny bit of judo as a kid. I did taekwondo as a kid. So I always had a loose interest in it. I think at the time I was playing guitar, and my mum, when I wanted to start jiu-jitsu, gave me a choice between continuing guitar lessons or trying jiu-jitsu. So I was like, for sure, I want to try jiu-jitsu. So I gave that a shot. My cousin was running a gym. But like when I started, I don't know, I can't remember if it was a white belt or a blue belt, but yeah, there wasn't much going on in my home city. So when I started...
Because you're from Adelaide, right?
Adelaide, yeah. So this would have been over 12 years ago now. I think I was 15 when I first started, about to turn 16. And the gym was very far from where I lived. Obviously, I couldn't drive. Buses, if anyone's been to Adelaide, public transport sucks. Yeah. So I really had no way to get down there. So any chance I could get down there, I would go down there. But yeah, for maybe until I was 21, I barely trained at all. I would say 2-3 sessions a week tops, split between MMA classes, which was just basically me and my friends trying to knock each other out. But we had the proper gear versus taking jiu-jitsu. I would do some tournaments, but there weren't too many tournaments going on. I think one a year in my city. Nationally, we had Pan Pacs and Cup. Other than that, you could choose to do the other state titles, but I mean...
I'm sure Adelaide didn't have a lot going on back then, especially.
No, nothing at all.
So from all, like, obviously I did the camp with Lockie, and I've got to be quite good friends with him out of that experience and the podcast and everything like that. And he talks about you in, like, this... It's funny, I call him Lockie One Kenobi.
Lockie One.
So because to me he's like this Jedi master. Like he's so stoic. He doesn't really give much away. There's like there's no ego at all with him. Like it's completely not even there. It's not like he's got his ego under control. It's like it doesn't exist. And that's like the full Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of thing too, you know. And the way that he talks about you is like that young apprentice kind of, and not to say that everything that you've got is from Lockie or anything like that, but you're like this freak talent dude that walks into his gym, and the way he talks about you is like, Craig can learn anything. Like he can see it and then do it, or you can tell him and then he can do it. And that was it Bianca that got, or what's the girl's name that got promoted last night? Brooke, sorry. They sort of say that she's a little bit like that as well. Obviously she, like you said, gets a lot of training and stuff, but said that she's got that sort of ability. But it's like, if you are a guy that has the natural talent that you have as, I guess, because it's not all physical in jiu-jitsu. Like you'd say it's one of the few sports where it's more mental. It's like a database kind of collection. Like you've got to see variations of so many different things and cache that into your database so that you've got like an action or a reaction for it kind of thing. So in that sense, I think it's like a really mental sport. But if you had this like mental gift for like learning techniques, seeing techniques, and then applying techniques, did you just like kind of not know you had it until you took it more seriously, or was there no one around you to like foster that? Because you got to think, a dude like you that's done what you've done and the way that people talk about your abilities, like that's like child prodigy shit that should be, you'd think would naturally just be fostered. Like whenever anyone sees a talent, it's very apparent. Like if you can see a fucking 3-year-old hit a golf ball better than you, you're like, oh, that's Tiger Woods. Or if you can see a swimmer that can swim like crazy fast with no coaching. So it's like, I feel like talent on the scale that you've got, it is super identifiable. So it's like, why was it that you didn't take it super serious to start with?
Because there wasn't anything really going on. Like I think in my city there were 3 guys teaching jiu-jitsu. So in the immediate vicinity there were 3 guys making money off jiu-jitsu. So you know what I mean? Like, are you going to dedicate your life to a sport that you're not even going to be able to support yourself doing? And
then there was no internet then, right? Really, for jiu-jitsu?
There wasn't much, and even MMA was still banned in Australia at the time. So like even the MMA route would have been basically impossible when I first started. Obviously it's come a long way since then. But I think in terms of talent, it's just how much interest do you have in the sport? How many questions are you asking yourself trying to solve every day? It's easy to go to class, learn what the coach shows you, go home. It's easy to watch the Superfight events, watch it and go home. it's very difficult to always be thinking about what's been going on, always be studying match footage, always be maybe coming to class with questions, and not even just questions for your coach, questions for guys that are doing particular things to you. It's also very difficult to try and analyze the trend of the sport and see where it's going.
Yeah.
So I think I realized quite earlier than most even, that the sport was heading, the next major trend was in heel hooks. Seeing Gordon and Gary and Eddie way back in the day utilizing them against I guess opponents you'd typically think were better at jiu-jitsu than them. So like the ability to identify trends, I think, is very, very important in that sense.
So when was it then that, or like, I guess, did you know that you were like super talented at jiu-jitsu when you were like that white and blue belt, or would you say that you weren't that talented? Because I mean, I'm obviously like, I'm into jiu-jitsu, but you're a guy that I found through this whole thing, and like to me you seem like an anomaly out of everybody, and it's like on a combination of different things. Like if you look at like Gordon Ryan, like that dude to me seems like an athlete. He's a jock kind of guy that is super fucking dedicated, who's got the best coach, who's lived his whole life. Like that's what I would see as like this traditional kind of athlete in a sense. And like same with Gary Tonin, even the way that Lockie trains, like how he breaks down like his strength and conditioning, then flexibility, and like the ways that he can make gains. So to me they seem like more like the standard athlete. And I think with you, like there's just something different, and it's got to be like the mentality that you have and like the way that you think about the sport. So like, yeah, I guess I'm interested, even if I wasn't into, like if you were just a case study and I wasn't interested in jiu-jitsu and someone said you got to study this Craig Jones dude from like a sports psychology, sports standpoint, I think you'd just be generally interesting to everybody. And it is interesting to me that you didn't really have like that traditional all-in like Nicky Ryan sort of approach.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never even really had a coach for an extended period of time. I had a coach coming up. I had my coach, but I mean, obviously, given that we started, I think either he was a white belt or a blue belt, I was a white belt. Like, I mean, I'm not getting taught by black belts, I believe, up until...
Not like if you walk into Absolute right now and get taught by Lockie.
Yeah, times are different now, so it's like he would get a belt, so I could get a belt. Obviously, a purple belt has to be... you have to be a purple belt to grade someone to blue belt, etc. So we'd follow that path, and I moved to Absolute at the end of 2015 and was graded to black belt at the end of 2016. So even up until black belt, what's that 1 year of coaching under a black belt? So it's a bizarre set of circumstances, which I don't think you could recreate anymore. Yeah, the sport's progressed too much for you to be in a situation like that. And still hit it. Yeah,
I think though, like, when did you know that, like, or like, did you ever get the vibe that like you were like a special talent, like in the gym, or like, you know, you said your coach was a purple belt when you were a blue belt sort of thing? Like, would you say that back then, like, if you, obviously it's hard to look at it in the moment, but when you look back at it, are you like, you know what, I did do some freaky fucking shit?
I didn't even think so, because every time I would win, I would take a crushing loss. You know what I mean? So there was never an undefeated run or anything like that. The first time I went overseas, I won a tournament, and then by the end of that trip that was San Fran Open, and then by the end of that trip I lost in 20 seconds at Pan Ams. So it's like every time you brought up, you brought back down. Yeah, I think the only benefit to learning under someone so new to the sport themselves is that you have to know how to self-learn.
You're figuring everything out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people today that, because they have access to they ask so many questions, they have access to so many people, that they don't actually learn how to problem solve themselves. They always need guidance. They need too much guidance. Yeah, okay. And like John, I remember Danaher doesn't really answer questions.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day.
Yeah, so people come up to him for questions, and he'll be like, "Don't ask me a stupid question," or he'll say something like, "I wouldn't want to take an opportunity for you to figure this out for yourself."
So he's not coming across like a dick. Or I mean, probably does to some, right?
A little bit, yeah, but a little bit, but it's like...
but it's like, how do you take that? Because if you take it as like, oh, what a fucking dick, and get defensive, then he's right. You're not going to learn.
Sometimes it's a dick, but it's hilarious. I know Alberto told me he asked John a question after he trained with John for 8 years. He said Travis Stevens came... I don't even know if I should tell this story, but it's pretty funny. Travis Stevens came into the gym, the judo... I think he won bronze medal or silver medal, and he would pass... Alberto with the same over under pass every time. And every time he passed, John was watching and John was like, excellent work, Mr. Stevens. And then after class, Alberto goes to John, do you have any tips on how to defend the over under pass? And John goes, just shoot yourself, man.
That's fucking incredible.
You know what I mean? I learned it a long time ago that if you want to solve a problem and you ask a question, you're more likely to forget it than if you figure out a solution to yourself.
You know, one thing that Lockie said to me that I thought was pretty cool was with that Brooke chick, was that she asked the right questions. So that really actually stuck with me. I was like, it's kind of like the fucking Matrix. Remember when she walks in and she's like, that's the wrong question, Neo? And he's like thinking like, what is the right question? And man, I think that that's like a huge part of learning, is like, because there's like cop out questions, right? And I mean, not to throw Alberto under the bus, but it's just like you're asking to be told what to do, not why you should do it, in a way. So it's like when Lockie said that, that's something that I've thought about. And even in my own training, like, man, I'm straight up the biggest fucking geek ever. Like, I went to Jiu Jitsu the first night, and that was in the end of April this year. And I was like, cool, this is me now. And I got fucked up, like, and my girlfriend was actually there watching. But for whatever reason, there was something there that I was like, all right, cool, this is the thing that I'm doing. And I was straight on YouTube, and I was like watching everything, and I wondered for a little bit, like, if that was too much.
Well, your first mistake was bringing your girlfriend to watch you get beat up by
1,000,000%, bro. What the fuck was I thinking? And then I made the mistake of the second class. I was like, oh, do you want to try it? Like, obviously they won't do that to girls. And then, because the first class was like a warm-up where you did it with a partner, and the partner kind of like instructed you through the warm-up. And I was like, oh, this is pretty easy, like Ricky could do this. So the next night I was like, all right, you should come tonight, and like it's real cruisy, like it's 3 moves, and then you just kind of roll for a bit, and we can roll together, and then maybe roll with like one of the other girls or whatever. And then we went, and it was like there was too many people to do the partner up thing. So you just do 4 lines, and it's like hip escapes and bridges and forward rolls and back rolls and handstands. And she was just like, what the fuck did you just do to me, you piece of shit? And like everyone's looking at her like, Jiu-Jitsu is a super intimidating thing, especially I think if you go into like a Brazilian gym, which is, my gym's obviously a Brazilian gym. But yeah, she was just like, fuck all this noise. But it's, yeah, that first class is, I mean, the first 3 months is no joke, really. Like, it's just pure survival. But there was, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just went deep into studying. I bought like a Jiu-Jitsu University from Amazon.
Oh, Salo.
You know, the book, yes. And then I fucking went, we went to the Sunshine Coast. I read that cover to cover in like a day. And then that was like my referencing. And then I sort of started thinking like, fuck, am I just like overloading my brain? Is it like, I was questioning if it was the kind of sport where you should just go, do the class, learn the moves, and then go home and then try and implement those moves in a live situation. And I guess it's been like 7 months now, but I am really thinking, and I said this to one of the girls that trains with us, is that I think that if you want to be good at anything in life, you should take control of your own learning. And obviously it's not like to discredit the learning that you get at the gym, but like you've got a game that you play and you've got a style, and I think that the longer you train, obviously you're going to gravitate towards certain things, and that might not be what gets taught when you go to the gym. So it's like, if you want to play that game, and if they're positions you're finding yourself in, it's like, should it be up to you to like be your own instructor as well? There's so many resources where you can do it.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing. I guess like when you go to university, they teach you how to evaluate sources, evaluate the quality of a source. So like,
so don't watch Lachlan Giles' YouTube channel.
Junk.
Fuck,
if it's free, it's junk. No. Yeah. So obviously you go to uni, you study anything.
BJJ Fanatics discount code Craig Jones. Yeah. Get that shit. White belts. Download the Leg Lock DVD, please.
So like obviously, yeah, there are a lot of resources out there, and the problem is when you're a white belt,
it's hard to know.
Yeah, you're not experienced enough to make the call whether that's a valuable resource or that's junk, and that's the tricky part. You don't know until it's too late. You spend your time trying a move that's not tested, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But did you then? So to go back, you had your coach who was only a belt above you. And it was almost like you guys were kind of learning jiu-jitsu together. So do you think that sort of set you up to really kind of develop overall, like as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, because you had been so used to like teaching yourself essentially?
I think so, and I think it was easier back then to learn from online resources because
there was less. Like if you were on it, it meant you were actually legit. Right?
It wasn't a big enough budget. It wasn't a big enough profit margins for everyone to have a crack at it. So really, there was very limited stuff out there.
That was like stand-up comedy back in the day. Like you really only had like those Showtime specials, and that was like it. That's what all the comedians would work towards. So it would almost be comparable to where it's like the networks that were going to invest the money in like an instructional DVD or whatever, they were going to get the best dude because it was a short, like this was in limited supply. But now everyone, like you get random dudes like Lachlan Giles who like realistically, what have they done in the sport? You know, they just start a YouTube channel out of a garage in St Kilda. But no, like I guess that's right. But yeah, it's like how much is too much, but I found myself recently, like when I did the camp with Lockie, right? It was butterfly, single X, and X guard, and all of that. Like, there's a lot of that where I just straight don't remember. And luckily, Liv filmed pretty much the entire camp, so we all got that as like reference. But it's really hard to even retain all of that information and then implement it on a guy that's just better than you at jiu-jitsu. So I mean, I got to a point, like I've kind of hit a point recently where I'm like I've got your Z-Guard encyclopedia, and then the one that you and Kit did, and then like a Kimura thing, and Lockie's Chokes DVD. And it's kind of like a little, for me, I'm like in my head, like that's my little world, and I want to get good at that little world before I really start to like learn everything, if that makes sense. And I don't know whether that's like the right approach or not, because it's like, I guess everything can help you in some situation. You might get taught something super random that's not part of your game or whatever, but it obviously it would help. But it's like, I wonder if there's got to be that balance between like learning, but then being the dude that just sits on YouTube and just Googles every fucking thing, wants to be a Berimbolo guy, wants to be a Top Game guy, wants to be a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think even just spending a lot of time watching matches, watching how high-level matches play out. And the tricky thing, again, is as a white belt, when you watch a high-level match, you look for the most exciting moment and you watch that over and over and over again. But it's more the subtle changes in position and details.
The tiny setups, the frames.
And trying to figure out what they're doing, yeah.
It's funny watching your Z-Guard encyclopedia DVD that you did, that's available at bjjfanatics.com. It's, for me anyway, I don't know if it's the same for other people, but like I do watch a lot of matches and I just enjoy watching it, and I watch your style a lot as like a lanky sort of dude as well, and you can kind of watch it, but it's like listening to a conversation where you don't know all the words, right? And then I like say I watch your DVD, and there's some of that like reverse X, the way that you set up like saddle and stuff out of some of those really underneath reverse X guard positions. And it's like I watched the match before I watched that DVD, and then it's like because of that DVD I now understand those words. So, and I always told people that jiu-jitsu is like watching a conversation with people that know a language that you either do or don't know. Or if you're a white belt, you know like a little bit of it. And if you're a blue belt, you know a little bit more of that language. And if you're a black belt, you're fluent. And it's like you're watching a conversation. Like it's like almost like an argument, right? It's like who's going to get the better of that argument? Like, no, you're not going to get that arm. I'm pulling that out. And then you sort of constantly readjust, and it's like this language. But I found that after watching certain, like your DVD in particular pertaining to your matches, it's a lot easier to see what's going on and see those setups and see things before they happen, because you kind of know those words, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. And when you watch match footage, the best trick is to like say you're trying to pick up a concept. So the best would be to watch, you've got 10 videos of someone being outside heel hooked. So the best is to watch all those 10 one by one and try and notice the similarities in what has occurred in all of them. And then maybe you have 10 other videos where the guy escapes the outside heel hook. Try and identify the difference. So like a concept you could pick up watching outside heel hooks is very rarely will someone tap to an outside heel hook when their hips are higher than their opponents. So little details like that, that's like a concept you could pick up. It's hard to notice, but if you watch the same finishes over and over again, you'll pick up concepts. So what was similar? It's like if you watch someone get their back taken, like what did you find similar in each of the similar back takes between either the same guy doing it 10 times or 10 different guys getting a back take?
I just think you blew the minds of everybody listening that does jiu-jitsu. That's a fucking super cool way of looking at footage. When did you first when did that kind of come in to your mind to do that? Or is that a natural thing you've always done? Yeah,
just trying to like, I would identify something I want to work on and then find as much match footage as I can of people implementing that move and also failing at that and trying to identify what was similar when it worked, what was similar when it didn't work. But then it's also a problem with heel hooks because sometimes people tap when it's not on. Yeah. So you might watch 10 videos and you might start to get a picture that it's hard to break the guy's leg if his hips are too high off the ground because you can't put as much force through your hips. But then you see a couple guys tap and you're like, oh, it's sort of like, why did they tap?
It wasn't all the way on. But I think the crazy thing is the heel hook thing is interesting because it really changed. I think it changed all of jiu-jitsu, in my opinion. Like Nicky Ryan's, he did, was it Kasai? What Nicky Ryan did? He did the quintet recently.
Nicky did the quintet, he did the Kasai.
Yeah, but Kasai was the one before. He went on right before Lockie, right? At Kasai.
Luckily, Giles, I don't think he has done Kasai.
Oh, well, what was the one that... Because I'm pretty sure... maybe... Yeah, anyway.
You're talking about Polaris.
Is it Polaris then? Okay, cool. So, there was that match, right? And he had the MMA dude, the English guy. I can't remember his name, but obviously a phenomenal grappler. And the whole thing is like, Nicky's this leg guy, Nicky's this leg guy, he's this leg guy, stay away. So then the MMA guy, I fucking feel bad forgetting his name, but he basically just went straight into Nicky's guard, assuming that because Nicky's this leg lock kid, that the guard would be a safe place to play. And it's like, no. This is, the legs is what is like really threatening. But people don't see the rest of his game because he's so good at that leg locks. But then it goes the other way to where a guy's so scared of leg locks, he just walks himself into the other part of his game. And I think that that's what's really changed jiu-jitsu, and guys like you and Gordon, that whole Danaher squad, the way that you're attacking with legs, and like it opens up the rest of your game. And I think that for a while there it was like, no, these are like these one-trick pony sort of dudes that only do that. But then it's like, no, that's just like our first thing. That's what we're sort of going to. If you want to go into the rest of the world, then you're going to step in, you're going to invite yourself into a position where you wouldn't sort of be doing. So I think leg locks really changed jiu-jitsu in the way that it seems like they've forced people to engage more in a way, because you can't stand at that leg entanglement distance where you guys are just going to go under and then get into the saddle and start working from there. It's like brought people in. Is that like a correct assumption?
Yeah, I mean, either one way or the other. Either they don't engage at all, or they're trying to commit and control the hips completely, play a lower game, I guess.
But when you come in and play that lower game, then you're exposing yourself to
to other attacks.
A whole other sort of world of like normal jiu-jitsu in a way.
And like I said, anytime you are fearing something your opponent does too much, then you're going to open yourself up to other attacks. Like I said earlier, like if I was too worried about, it's like Harry Gretchen is Kimura, he might actually catch me with something else because I'm so concerned about my thumb position in whatever position I'm in, so he doesn't get a Kimura, that I give him something super obvious, something a mistake I might not have made. So a lot of guys get submitted with other things because they're so terrified of heel hooks.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, and you can like kind of see that happening. And I guess, is the heel hook like the most gnarly submission, do you think, like the inside heel hook?
The inside, yeah, for sure. Probably, I guess, the most catastrophic
in terms of the damage that it can do.
Yeah, I think good inside heel hook probably put you out for 6 to 12 months.
It's fucking crazy because people don't really think of jiu-jitsu like that.
No, and sometimes you gotta weigh it up. Maybe it's ADCC final, maybe you're up on points, you're gonna let them break it. I don't think there's too many sports like that either.
True, man. Fuck, I'm not letting anyone jack with my ACL. But I guess you say that, and then there's been some times like where you'll get your arm like dislocated in an arm bar, and you're like, well, I didn't think that was going to happen, because you're like, no, I got it, but you don't have it.
Yeah, that does happen. A lot of injuries.
So when did you like really think that, oh fuck, jiu-jitsu is actually going to be like my life now? Because that's really what it is. Like, I guess you're maybe part of like this first new generation of like guys with social media that travel around the world. They can advertise privates everywhere they go. They can do seminars everywhere they go. When did that start to become like a thing that was on your radar?
I'm not really sure. After
ADCC, maybe?
Yeah, after ADCC, you just sort of start getting more seminar invites, and there came a point in time where it was like I was making more money traveling than I am back here in Absolute. But then obviously I got to weigh out between my own training and my own ability to make money. I can only make money while I'm doing well at competition, and the more seminars I do, realistically, the worse I'm going to do at competition. So it's kind of a balancing act. But yeah, I sort of always planned to make money in the sport, but I never thought it would be as easy as it is right now. But obviously I do recognize that it's like seminars. Yeah, it's like a popularity contest, you know what I mean? You have one good match, everyone loves you. A bad match, you're forgotten very quickly. If you follow the sport for any period of time, there was some guys that are very, very famous, and then bang, they're gone. Maybe they got injured and they've lost. But
do you think that was the case in like the social media era? Because I feel like once people have a fan base, like look at AJ Agazam, right? Like he's like the Chael Sonnen of jiu-jitsu, really. He's a professional troll, like, and he loves it. And Kit's almost the same. So it's like, but Kit isn't out there really pushing super hard, like match wise and things like that, right? So it's like, are we in a new age where like if you can control your image and keep enough people engaged, like social media wise, where it's like that's where longevity is going to come from?
Yeah, I think so. I think you see everyone try different approaches. Obviously, Kit's approach, AJ's approach, Gordon has his own approach. You see a lot of guys. King. Yeah, you see a lot of guys trying a lot of different things on there. So yeah, it's definitely changed. It's just copying MMA. I guess it's just a poor man's version of MMA.
Yeah, it is, huh? Yeah, it's crazy. Like the whole Dylan thing with like Connor, like that's probably the most jiu-jitsu's ever been talked about. Really, like I
would say so. Yeah,
you couldn't get away from the fucking name Dylan Dennis for like 2 weeks after that fight. That's crazy. But it's like, it is like, he's a bit of a troll too, right? Really?
Yeah, for sure. He's just playing the game, and I guess he's learning from the best. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't like Dylan Dennis for it, but there's no question it's working.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, there's a lot of shit that comes with that. But, I mean, on the Dylan Dennis front, like, he's got to be doing something right. Like, Conor McGregor isn't the kind of, like, he has access to everybody. Like, they're friends. They like each other. And when you're a guy, like I'm sure you've met some pretty famous people, like super famous dudes, like on that level, they're not just like inviting people into their circle as like hey, come on private jet with me, man. Like, yeah, fucking cruise. I don't really know you that well, but like he's really offering something of substance to Conor that I would say goes a lot further than jiu-jitsu. So it's like there's something there with Dylan where like people are kind of talking shit, but it's like he's obviously a pretty legit motherfucker in like a lot of aspects.
Yeah, he's very good. I think a lot of people have a short memory with his jiu-jitsu career because I know he's had quite a few draws lately, or maybe even losses in his latest submission grappling matches. But especially if you go back to his brown belt days, one of the most dominant brown belts I think I've ever seen, and very much so submitting guys and showcasing a lot of wrestling even back then. It's just like I said, like people have a very short memory of the sport, so it's easy to hate on him now for maybe losing a few matches. But I mean, he gave Gordon probably his most difficult match at ADCC, and he's also obviously he's bigger than Gary Tonin, but he took Gary Tonin to a draw. So yeah, he's a very impressive grappler. I think him and Conor are so tight because he came along so early in Conor's career as well. Obviously not like way back John Kavanagh days, but like in terms of his popularity, his fame, I think before Conor really hit it huge, Dylan was in there training with him.
Yeah, and it's harder to get inside that circle as you do get bigger and bigger.
Oh, for sure. Conor would have to insulate himself from, I guess, all the crazy people.
But he's crazy as fuck himself.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he might need to be insulated from a lot. You don't really seem to go like crazy hard with the social media thing. Like, I mean, Kit, that's like his thing. is like he's really like all over the social media stuff. Plus he's like trying to be an actor and shit, I guess, so it's like different. It's not apples and apples there, but like where are you at with that whole social media thing?
I can't, for the most part, I can't really be bothered with it.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I try and have some fun with it. I mean, I know you see guys like Eddie Cummings, he probably even puts in less effort than I do on that.
Dude, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
but he seems like he's too smart for Instagram.
Yeah,
Lockie's the same. He's like too smart for that. She's like, nah.
Yeah, they hate it, hey. But I mean, you just have to do it.
It's a tool, right? Have you, like, can you see a correlation between actively putting effort into Instagram and money in your bank? You'd have to.
In terms of seminar offers, yeah, the more, it's hard to see a direct effect.
Well, like you got that barefoot jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's like that. There's sponsor stuff that comes out of that. So I guess that like there really is like a.
Oh, for sure. I'm trying
effort in, money out.
I am trying to build it. I'm just never gonna be. I guess some guys talk to the camera every day. They're doing crazy amounts of stories and stuff. Like I can't really be bothered doing that.
Yeah.
But some aspects of it I do enjoy because you get to talk with some people, some fans and stuff, or just you meet some interesting people in there and stuff.
Is it was it a weird transition to go from like no one knowing who you were and like walking around completely under the radar to then everybody in jiu-jitsu like knowing who you are? And obviously like it's a small community, so it's not like you're fucking walking down the street and people are like getting your autograph and shit. So it's not like you're in that world. But if you like just look at the jiu-jitsu ecosystem, it's like you're a super famous dude now, and that wasn't the case like even just a couple years ago. Like, has it been weird, or do you just honestly not care?
I don't care too much because I know people are so fickle with who they support and stuff. But I guess the best part is it's not like, obviously you're not truly famous, so it doesn't really affect my day-to-day life. But say I ever need help with something, or I need to know things about places, I've got a huge community I can ask a question to, and get a bunch of responses. So in that sense, it's awesome. You know, when you go to a new city, you're like, what do I see here? Yeah, bang, 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 like lots of responses and stuff. But yeah, I couldn't imagine if you were truly famous and you couldn't go anywhere. That would really be horrible. Has
there been any negatives in it to where, like, because I feel like maybe the only negative at the scale that you're at is probably just people trying to get a come up off what you've done. But like, is there any negatives that you've kind of had to deal with out of it?
No, I think I've been pretty lucky so far. Nothing too crazy, nothing too weird. I think I'm in a lucky position. I think I'm supported by most of the community because I'm sort of seen as an outsider, Australian in a sport dominated by Americans and Brazilians. So it's it's a lot. I guess a lot of good support. Not even too many people talking shit directly to me or on my posts or anything like that.
Yeah, you're not a guy that needs that shit to like sell a fight, or I think like you're probably in a lucky position to where like you've got such a unique style when you fight, and then I guess like we were saying, like that calm, relaxed demeanor, like I think it like takes people back. Like, this dude can't be that good. Like, he looks like he's just like, you honestly look like you've just accepted you're gonna lose, and you're like, what's up, dude? Don't fuck me up too bad, let's go. And then it's like bang. And I think that, you know, there's just like that interesting thing. So it's like maybe you've just got your own thing where you don't need like a shtick. Like AJ Agazam has a fucking shtick, and people will like, it's like a 50-50 on that dude's Instagram of love and hate. And even, dude, I fucking never ever comment on Instagram, and I saw he posted a happy birthday thing with your mum, with his mum, and I was like, I was so close to writing, I'd fucking choke her. And like, just because he's like, he just seems like he invites that shit, and I was like, he's probably the kind of dude that would actually enjoy that comment, and then it would like start a bunch of shit. And it's like, he's the kind of guy, I think, that it's like, as long as people are talking about him, he's pumped, whether it's like good or bad. But it's like, I don't think his grappling, people aren't like, if he just shut his mouth and didn't do anything, I don't think people would be like as interested to tune in to say as if you were fighting.
I mean, but he did beat Lucky Giles, right?
Oh shoot. The shade.
Yeah, nah, yeah.
What did he do in that match? How'd that go down?
I think just a takedown.
Oh, is that all it was? Yeah, that's kind of part of his criticism too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of respect for AJ because no one gets their limbs broken quite like him. He just recovers from it like it's nothing. Like his career is full of people ripping shit on him and it just doesn't even affect him.
It was, what was it? Did he fight Dean Lister at Polaris or something?
Who did he fight? Who injured him the most? Oliver Tarza injured him really badly with the inside heel hook.
Oh, really?
And he just let it break. I mean, Gary Tonin put him in a knee bar. Hyperextended his knee the other direction. It was so bad. He didn't tap. When he stood up to walk off, his knee buckled backwards. Fuck. So it caved in. So I don't know. That looked like severe damage. But then he put up a video the next day with a girl standing on his shoulders doing squats.
What the fuck? So he is a savage.
He's a straight savage, yeah.
That's pretty fucking rad. And I guess too, like, he's rolling with the Diaz boys pretty heavy these days too. So it's like, they're legit motherfuckers. Like, there's obviously, I think that's like maybe one of the things I've learned through filming with like different, different athletes and different sports and whatnot, is that you kind of see these people on like the inside of these circles, and if they're at the top of anything, like there's always something more to the story that's going on there than what you think. Like, you sort of can't take everyone for face value in terms of like what they're offering, like these people, like like a Dylan and Connor sort of relationship. Like, there's always a little bit something extra that, like, once you get over the fence and you peer inside, it's like, that's sort of what's going on. So I guess like, but if you just take AJ for like his Instagram, then you're like, what the fuck is this dude doing? But there's obviously something there.
Yeah, well, most of the guys that people have problems with, you meet them in real life and they're like completely normal dudes. You know what I mean? It's all just, they just use it as a tool to further their life, I guess. Yeah. And if AJ can act a certain way that pisses people off, and it means when he makes his MMA debut, he makes a lot more money, then like, who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
He got it done. Yeah. I can appreciate it because having met the guys on a different level, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
you've been on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, like I remember I saw AJ put up a photo. What was he wearing? A matching floral shirt and shorts and a beanie and sunglasses, and people were ripping him on that. But it's just like,
it's just a game to him.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's crazy too that, like, has it just gotten bad? Well, not bad, but has that whole world of like the whole Instagram jiu-jitsu thing, like, that's a thing now? Is that a new thing, or am I just like new to finding this thing?
It's definitely to the level it is today. I don't know how long that's been going on for.
Because they go deep.
Yeah, like, I mean, AJ's becoming like a D-list celebrity or something with the people he hangs out with.
I know,
it's like he's doing some cool shit with it, I guess. Like, he's utilizing it very, very well.
Do you think then that, let's say this trend keeps going and we start seeing AJ Agazarm with fucking Bieber, like he was doing security at that Logan Paul KSI, like that was fucking big, dude. That did 5 million YouTube buys. I think it was like $10 a pay-per-view on YouTube.
Yeah, they made a lot of money off that.
That's some fucking cash, man. And AJ's in that shit.
He was in there boxing with Logan before and stuff, yeah.
Like, so with all this that's going on, and then like we said, we got Dylan that did, I'd say in terms of like, if you want to use a super lame marketing term, like moving the needle, I think that Dylan Dennis moved the jiu-jitsu needle probably harder than anybody recently, right? Like, that was in mainstream culture. So it's like, if we keep having these dudes like AJ and fucking, what am I blanking? Oh, Dylan. Like, doing this, can you see jiu-jitsu like getting more mainstream?
I think so. I think it's still probably one of the fastest growing hobby sports in the world.
Hobby sport. Like, what would you
like? Like, people just do it in their spare time. Like, and it encompasses their life.
I suppose that's because like NFL can't be a hobby sport, right? Like, that's just an elite sport. So okay, yeah, that makes MMA would be a good one too. Like, you're not going to get the average Joe sparring every day for MMA.
But the brilliant trick with jiu-jitsu is the belt system. How many people do Muay Thai casually for 10 years?
Yeah, and there's
every
no
night.
reward.
Yeah, the belt system's just it means something, but it's a trick to get you to do it for 10 years.
That makes sense.
Thank God for the Gracies, otherwise we'd be like judo and none of us would get paid any money.
So you think that the belt system is super significant in keeping people going?
Oh, for sure.
How much should people think about the belt? Because you hear all the dudes like, just holds up your pants, man. It's like, well, it actually fucking doesn't. But I get what you're saying. But I mean, yeah, like there is that whole like, don't worry about the belt. And I mean, I've even had that chat, like, don't worry about your blue belt, just fucking be a white belt.
It means something else. It means something different to every person, obviously. But I think I wouldn't get too caught up in it because there's plenty of black belts that suck. There's plenty of blue belts that are really, really good. So like, it doesn't mean you're good. It means whatever it does to you, you know what I mean? So you set yourself a goal and you get a physical reward for the goal. And that's what holds people in the sport.
How long, like, so to get a black belt, you're looking at like, but you know, between 10 and 15 years. But then you get a dude like Kit that got his in 5. Like, where... You get like those blue belts that are like insanely good. Like I got a friend Nick that he came to Thailand with us. We call him the zebra because he's got more fucking stripes on his blue belt than a zebra. But it's like you roll with that dude and you're like, we're doing a different sport. And he's not even bigger than me. He's not like, he'd be stronger than me, but it's not like that. It's a size thing. It's just that straight up level of fucking savagery that dude has. And again, it's like that data. It's like everything you do, he's already seen you do it, and nothing works with a guy like that. So it's like, what then, like, he's not fitting then, I guess, into like that 10-year kind of black belt thing. Like his level of jiu-jitsu is probably a lot higher than his belt. So is jiu-jitsu this thing where like you can learn the thing and become super high level at it without being a black belt? Like, or is a black belt just this symbolic thing that represents the time that you've put in?
I think a black belt should mean you're well-rounded. It shouldn't mean you're effective. So say if you deal with a blue belt that kicks your ass, you just haven't found, or you maybe don't have the skills yet to exploit his weaknesses. Whereas like say Kit obviously got his black belt very quickly, so he's very, very effective. But say someone like Andre Galvao or something might be able to exploit his weaknesses that a lot of people cannot yet. You know what I mean? So I think a black belt should mean you're very well-rounded. But I'm not saying if you're very, very effective but not very well-rounded, you shouldn't get a black belt. You should for sure get a black belt.
Yeah.
If you're kicking people's asses at a higher rank than you should be on that rank, whether you even know certain positions or not.
Oh, so you think that... Yeah, okay.
Because at the end of the day, what are we doing it for? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it is like... And I mean, especially for me, like in the position I'm at. Because I mean, I've been through a lot of stuff. So that's why it's cool to talk to people like yourself and people like Lockie. Because like Lockie said, if you're winning Blue Belt Worlds, you should probably be giving him like a really fucking hard time. So then there's a dude that's competing at the highest level as a black belt, and he's saying a blue belt should be able to give him a hard time. So it's like it seems like it doesn't all seem to add up, right? And I think that even for me, like I had this idea of jiu-jitsu as like, okay, so this is like you're a white belt and you live in this little lane, and you shouldn't be doing barambolos, you shouldn't be doing kiss of the dragon, taking people's back. Like that's just sort of not the lane that you do. And I kind of see where that comes from. Like you want to build a house with good foundations. You don't just want to like go and put up the fucking chandelier while you haven't got a roof on the house. Like it's not going to be a solid thing to do. You're probably going to fuck up the chandelier. So it's like, yeah, where's the balance between that, like staying in the lane? But then I've sort of like switched my thing to like, well, I just want to be good at jiu-jitsu regardless of the lane I should stay in or the belt I wear or whatever. And I mean, it has a way of leveling out, right? Like a purple belt will pretty much all the time fuck up a blue belt and a white belt. So it's like, I guess the belt's like a rough indication, but it's like, should you be thinking about it as like, all right, well, I'm just going to try and get good at jiu-jitsu and not worry about the belt or use the belt to restrict what I think I should know?
I mean, I wouldn't tell people to not do something that would greatly interest them. If you told them not to do something, they might not spend as much effort into the things you're telling them to work. So whatever puts people on the mats for longer is better for their jiu-jitsu, I think. Obviously, if you're trying to learn the berimbolo but you don't know how to play De La Riva guard, you're never going to get good at the berimbolo. So hopefully you're intelligent enough to come to that realization. You know what I mean? So like, it should come full circle, hopefully.
It was interesting, the whole like you learn from a loss sort of thing is like about as true as it gets. I think in this situation that I just had where I lost, and I like to play half guard Z guard, right? And obviously you know a lot about that, But I went into this comp and it was a no-gi comp, and then the guy was just standing at like this really weird distance that I hadn't really dealt with a lot, and then wasn't doing anything. And I didn't really have like an answer for it. And I was like, come here, cunt, like fucking let's go. And he just stood there, and I sort of didn't really know what to do. But I was still sort of like trying to play Z-guard, but it's like, that's not working. But what it was a reverse De La Riva. And I hadn't put that together yet. And what I did was I put reverse De La Riva on a shelf. And I was like, look, that's like a blue belt thing. When I get a blue belt, I'm going to work on that, right? But it's like, it doesn't even have to be like you're playing Z-guard. It's like half guard. If someone stands up, now you're in reverse De La Riva. So that was like a really, really good lesson for me, because then like so the comp was Saturday, I got fucking beat, and then I went home and I spent all day Sunday watching reverse De La Riva shit on YouTube. And this was before I got your Z-guard DVD, and now I wish that I went and bought it like a week before that fight, because my coach actually said, like, I was there, he's like, invert underneath, and I was like, I've fucking never done that shit.
That's
like,
pretty hard for a white belt, reverse De La Riva, I think.
Yeah, but so I like inverted underneath him, and then I like sort of, I'd seen a lot of people do it, so I kicked the dude out, but then he fell onto my knee, so I had his back, but I couldn't get that hook around. All I had to do, and my coach Fabio was telling me, roll over to the other side because the top hook was in, so that would have then been bottom hook, put that one in, game over, would have had his back and would have won the fight. But it was that it was just that knowledge, and it was like, yeah, so you could say like there's the kiss of the dragon kind of technique or whatever, but you need to know that if you're going to play Z-guard or half guard, then a hole in that game is if someone stands up, now you need to be in reverse De La Riva. So it's like a, it's interesting to me that I kind of like put that shit on a shelf, and I wasn't, like I just said, I'll learn that when I go to like a blue belt sort of thing. But it's like, it's
a great way to do it. Anytime you get beaten with something, then now that's the time to learn it. Therefore, the more you train, the more you compete, the more things you have to learn, the more time you're going to spend on the mats, you know what I mean? So sometimes it might be better to not think about it like, this is for this belt, this is for this belt. It's just, if you're getting beaten with something, it's time to address it.
Yeah, and it was just a classic case of like the belt where I was at, and like the lane that I was supposed to stay in was something that cost a win or whatever. Not that that sort of matters, but it's like I got beaten with something that I'd kind of put on a shelf. But it was interesting then, and when I did the camp with Lockie, it was like butterfly, single XX. And when I went there, I was like, oh, that's cool, we'll like work on those three things. But it's like, there's systems within jiu-jitsu, right? And I didn't really get it until Thailand. And Lockie, we sat down, and it was like, the first thing is like, we're going to do this basic butterfly sweep. Bang. Now, if you can't get this underhook, then this is what you're going to do. And then if they push this way, then this is what you're going to do. And now we're in a position to where we're going to go to single leg X. And then from here, if they do this, now we're going to X guard. So it's like, that was my first look at like jiu-jitsu as this system. And I'm thinking, I'm like, fuck, you can like you can do jiu-jitsu in this game, right? So like you've got Z-guard, De La Riva, reverse De La Riva. And that's obviously putting it very simply. But it's like you're playing in a system that you've developed for you, and theoretically that system has an action and reaction for everything, right? But it's like, are you going to do it flawlessly? So I think that opened my eyes to like that system. And when was the first time you kind of thought, or do you even think about jiu-jitsu like that?
Yeah, you could obviously anticipate counter reactions and stuff like that. That's the whole game to me, is thinking about what are they going to do if this doesn't work, or what are they going to do if this works but not well enough to get the finish. You know what I mean? Try and fit them all into one. I guess the almost old school one is, what is it? You go for the hip bump sweep. You can turn it into a guillotine or a Kimura. Yeah. That was the first time I learned that, you know what I mean? Like, one attack can lead into another straight off their defense. Yeah. Yeah, and when did you, like, because you're a guy that's responsible for, like, you go to St Kilda, and I mean, I haven't trained here, but at St Kilda, it's like, people know how to do Z-guard, De La Riva, reverse De La Riva, single leg X, like that whole world, those dudes are ninjas at it.
And it's like, when did you realize that you were like wanted to play a game in a way? Like, you're obviously a super rounded black belt.
Oh, you just want to beat people. You know what I mean? The easiest way to, you want to beat people better than you.
So it's just path of least resistance.
Yeah, what do old black belts not want to do? Learn new shit. So that's the way to beat them.
Yeah, okay. So when did you start implementing that thought, or was that just like a natural thing and then you're like...
The clearest example was when black belts would hate on heel hooks. Yeah. They'd always be, they're too dangerous, but they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? This is a set of guys that think they're too dangerous, so that's an excuse for them to neglect learning the intricacies of it. I don't think there's any dangerous moves. There's only dangerous training partners. The same guy that's going to hurt you with a heel hook is going to hurt you with another submission, or you're going to hurt yourself because you don't understand the game. First time you get armbar, what are you trying to do? Pull your arm out.
Get out.
Injure it worse. First time you get a heel hook, you try and turn your leg out. Maybe you turn it the wrong way, you hurt yourself. So when old school black belts hate on heel hooks, they don't hate on them because they didn't work. No one hates on moves that don't work on them. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the first trick.
Well, even Lockie said at the start, he was like, Z-guard's a shit guard.
Yeah.
And he's like said that to people. And like he said that to me, that he said that when he was like, Craig's doing the Z-guard thing and it's kind of shit. But, you know, so is it like, you think that that's the case where it's like people just... Yeah, they're like kind of almost like neglecting this new thing because it's this whole new... Because like...
It's been the path in Jiu-Jitsu for as long as I've been in it. They hated on deep half guard when it came about. They hated on 50-50 guard when it came about. They hated on the Birimbolo when it came about. And each and every one of those moves isn't even up for discussion anymore. It's just part of the game. Anytime something new comes about, people are going to hate on it. It's and they hate on it because it's effective. Sometimes they hate on it because it's a junk move. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like all 10th planet.
Like sometimes they're right, but you gotta know when they're wrong, and that's very hard to predict, I guess.
The other thing that I wanted to talk, this is like, by the way, sorry to everyone listening, this is the most selfish fucking podcast I've ever done, but fuck it, there'll be more. The other thing I was wondering is, like, you've put on like a lot of weight, like muscle wise, size wise, and I started having this thought in my head, like, I'll go to the gym and there'll be dudes that are like 85, 90 kilos and they're better than me technique wise already, so I've got that, fucking tick that box for me getting my ass kicked. And then you chuck in the 85, 90 kilos, tick that box, and then you tick the box where they're just strong as fuck at that weight as well, and then that's 3 boxes ticked of me getting fucked up. So in my head, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, man, next year or like kind of when these comps finish, should I like really fucking hit the gym and get stronger? Because in my mind, I'm like, what's going to get me better at jiu-jitsu? Like, what's going to get you better at, say, Kimuras? It's like ripping a fuckload of Kimuras, right? So it's like, I get the theory of the technique should be perfect and you shouldn't have to use strength. But it's like, if I'm finishing it and go like, oh, I had a little bit more time to adjust this grip, or it seems like strength buys you time, and then it can also just get you like a push through finish. But it's like, you're still learning. Like, the best way to learn is by doing those submissions. So in my head, I'm like, damn, do I try and put on like a bit of muscle, a bit more strength to then maximize these rolls where I'm going into the gym with dudes that are A, better than me technique wise, but stronger and have more weight? So like, was that your method of thinking, or did you just sort of want to get in like the absolute division and so that you could be like kind of one of the top dudes?
Well, I had to go up because Lucky was doing 77 kilos. But also, people always say this, I think Lucky even feels the same way. I know he started lifting weights lately, but he always used to say, because he'd look at his idol Marcelo Garcia, and Marcelo would say, you don't need to lift weight. And what you're talking about there is 2 naturally thick ass dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Lucky's back looks like a fucking Ninja Turtle.
So me growing up as a lanky guy, I would get injured. You get injured all the time. So it's all well and good for a thick, a guy that's muscular from training to say don't lift weights. I don't have to. Of course you don't have to. You know what I mean? You already look like you do lift weights.
Yeah.
The main purpose of lifting weights is protection against injuries.
Okay.
So if a white belt, he might get better at jiu-jitsu by doing jiu-jitsu, but if he doesn't lift weights and make his body strong, there's a good chance that he's going to injure himself and be on the sidelines for a while.
Yeah. And
that's why I think you need to add weightlifting to your system as a white belt, because say you've finished high school, you went to work, and this is the situation with most people that I think start jiu-jitsu, They went to high school. When they were in high school, they did maybe some sports. Maybe they did a tiny bit of weightlifting afterwards, and then they went to work for a while, got bored, started to get out of shape. They're like, I want to do something fun. They get into jiu-jitsu, but their body's been they've been resting for like 5 years. And those guys that take a big chunk of a time period off, or maybe they partied for 5 years or something, they get into the most, and they get into the most brutally. You know what I mean? So I think you can't just come in and fight every day. You need to do something to protect your body as well. And strength and conditioning is that. But I'm not saying just go to the gym and be a bro. I think you need a professional to watch you lift, because otherwise you're going to do more harm than good.
You're going to get hurt there as well,
Yeah.
But so do you think that like the way that I'm thinking has merit in terms of like, because basically I think like, let's say I train 6 days a week and you roll 3 times in every day. So it's like, what's that? 18 rolls or whatever that you're doing a week. Let's say half of those rolls are with guys that are bigger and stronger and better. So it's like, for me, it's like if I can get on the bigger and stronger, and then it's just, then now I'm dealing with one thing, and that's that they're better than me technique wise. So it's like you're going from half of your rolls being completely undergunned technique wise and then completely overpowered strength wise. Like if you can bridge that gap, do you see that as being like a way to sort of progress even more?
Oh, for sure. If 2 people are equally strong, then the more technical guy's going to win. But you might be better than someone. If he's stronger than you, he still might win. Yeah. You know what I mean? So anything you can do to bridge that gap is better. I would make sure that if you did get strong, that doesn't replace your technique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
it just supplements it.
There's like an element though of like strength is just, it's like your gas pedal, right? Because there's a thing in motocross where like if you start getting sideways on a bike, the thing you can't do is shut off the throttle. Like you need to power out of situations. It's the same in a car. Like you like drift around a corner and then you let off the gas pedal, and then that fucking thing just grips up and starts like grabs traction. Then you're in more trouble than if you just held the fucking thing on the stopper. So to me, in my head, and again, like I could be just way off, but it's like you've got that gas pedal to where you can give yourself. So it's like you do want to be that sort of technical guy, but or at least you're not like powerless to somebody that's like, because the most common thing, like you roll with a big dude, what's the first thing he's going to do? Smash through, side control, Kimura. Like that's the big dude playbook. So it's like if you've got a bit of extra horsepower to prevent that, it seems like to me it's like, how do you just maximize those times? Because you might have 9 out of 18 rolls where you're just undergunned the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, if jiu-jitsu was only technique, the old ass guys that have been training for 40 years would be the best at it. But they're not. The guys, there's a reason we have a masters division. You know what I mean? Technique only takes you so far. Yeah. So it's definitely always better to be stronger. And I've very rarely met anyone that's good that isn't at least somewhat athletic.
How much like you've competed with Gordon before he went full Arnold? Yeah. Like how big of a difference has that made to him?
I competed with him when he was already big the first time.
But he's like big now. So he was already pretty well on his way the first time you fought him.
Yeah, because that was his ADCC run. Yeah. It definitely makes a difference for sure. But I wouldn't say it's the reason he beat me is because he was stronger.
Yeah, when are you gonna beat him, by the way? Yeah. Can you please beat Gordon Ryan at some point?
Yeah, nobody beats me 4 times.
How many? Has he beat you 3 times now?
3 times.
Fuck. Get one back. Come on. What is it with Gordon? I mean, he's fucking good, obviously.
I just think he's just the best guy in the game right now.
That quintet was gnarly, dude.
Yeah, him killing Josh Barnett. That was a real interesting one, was whether he could finish Josh Barnett, and he was in mount within a minute.
It was fucking demoralizing for Josh Barnett. Like, and I don't think people realize, like, if you just watch quintet, that's a really poor reflection of like what that dude's actually capable of. Like you need to go back, watch some old school Josh Barnett heavyweight UFC shit, and just like look at what he does to people.
He's the first guy to tap Dean Lister as well. So
true.
That's where he's
that's no joke.
Most scary.
Yeah, so it's like for Gordon to do what he did to that guy, the way he did it was fucking crazy. But I think that quintet was such like a great look at modern jiu-jitsu, and there was there's always guys that are like, for whatever reason, just like a level above. And I think that you and Gordon are on that level. But then obviously like you're 0-3 against him. So it's like he's obviously got that another gear there somewhere. And I guess that's like going to be you figuring that out for whenever you guys fight the 4th time. But it was really interesting. Like you run through those 10th planet dudes and they're good fucking guys. And I mean, not that you beating them makes them not good guys, but it was like, that was crazy. So you had like that side of the draw and I was like, holy fuck, look what Craig Jones is doing to these poor motherfuckers. And then on the flip side of that draw, you had Gordon Ryan that was like, holy fuck, look at what this guy is doing to these motherfuckers. And then you two met and had that match. And I think it was like a really good look at like modern jiu-jitsu and getting guys from like different backgrounds and different countries and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that definitely this modern style is greatly superior to what a lot of the traditional guys are doing. You know what I mean? A lot of people like to think that like Hickson Gracie could come back today, you gave him his youth back and he'd win. He wouldn't win. That's insane that people think that. You know what I mean? The sport obviously progresses. It would be silly if it didn't progress. There are anomalies. Roger Gracie came out of retirement and beat Buchecha, submitted Buchecha. There are anomalies. That doesn't mean the sport hasn't progressed. You know what I mean? Roger Gracie is a technical freak. Buchecha's technical as well, but he's just an athletic monster. And Roger Gracie was able to capitalize on a mistake and didn't let him out of that mistake. But yeah, the sport's obviously progressed. So even within a 5-year window, like when I think Barnett submitted Dean Lister 5 years ago, and you see what one of the best modern Nogi grapplers did to Josh Barnett. Even the 2 other guys, Shaolin Hibero, obviously he's much older, much smaller. Gordon killed him. Obviously Marcus Souza. Marcus Souza is an animal. He's a really good guy. Probably past his peak competitively. Gordon ran through him. That's the way it should be. You shouldn't be able to come out of retirement and beat the best young guys of today. I think there's something wrong with the sport if they can do that. And
yeah, you're right. Like you don't see, like if fucking Brett Favre come back right now, he ain't winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it's not to discredit those guys or what they've done. There's no point comparing guys from back then to today.
Yeah.
It's just it's unrealistic expectations.
No, it makes sense, man. What like do you see jiu-jitsu as? Because even for me, like it's turned into a lot more. Like I did a fucking float tank the other day, and I've never done one before. And way to just sound like Rogan too. So yeah, fucking go nuts on that one. And I was like, went in there and like I've been stressed with work and then obviously competing, and then I knew I was in Sydney and gonna be fucking carrying on in Sydney. And I was like in there and I was like, all right, think about all this shit you got on your plate. Think about, all this stuff that's got you stressed out. And I fucking went in that float tank for an hour, stone cold sober, and I could not stop thinking about jiu-jitsu. I was actively telling myself, dude, you just paid $75 to try and sort some shit in your life out, and all you're fucking doing is drilling. And I was on the plane and I was watching one of your DVDs, and it was like I was fucking drilling that shit in my head. I was watching myself do it. Have you been in those sensory deprivation?
I've done it, yeah, I did it one time.
Did you have that? Like, were you thinking about jiu-jitsu when you were in there?
I can't even remember what I was thinking about, to be honest.
I was like mad at myself. I was like, you're fucking wasting this. And I mean, turns it like, I guess visualization's a big part of sport, but there's just something weird that goes on to where it's like, it's not just a sport. Like it's a thing that I don't really know what it is yet. And it's like, maybe with the level that you've reached at it, it's like do you reach a level where you get almost like enlightenment as to like what this thing is that you've spent your life doing?
No, I didn't think so, because it changes all the time, you know what I mean? It's just like I guess it's just it's obviously it's like a fight without punches, you know what I mean? But there's like endless possibilities to win and endless possibilities to lose. So it's just if you're a competitive person, then it's just gonna be addictive.
There's always gonna be a challenge to overcome. Like there's always gonna be a sort of a mountain there.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's definitely unlike anything that I've ever done. And I mean, I even was like, I remember when I first started, I'd like come home and I couldn't even remember who I rolled with, but I could remember the entire roll, if that makes sense. And it's like, to me, then that's what made me start thinking of like, well, what am I really doing here if I can't even remember who I competed against? So like, what was the competition if I can't remember the dude I just rolled with for 6 minutes?
I quite often don't even remember what happened in the match that I just competed in. So yeah, it's like you get lost in the moment.
I guess it's like one of those things, and I get this in motocross. I don't get it in motocross anymore, to be honest. I'm just fucking scared because I know what happens injury. Like I've had horrific injuries. My brother's had horrific injuries. I've had friends die. Like the whole gamut of shit has gone down in that world for me. So now I'm just scared. But when I ride like mountain bikes, when I surf, I think that the thing that we're all doing, whether we have realized it or not, is like that full meditation phase where it's like that zone that you're trying to get in when you're like meditating,
like
or when
the flow state or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that some stuff is like, it's just like depending on your personality, your character, like you can get into that flow state doing crochet, or you can get into that flow state doing jiu-jitsu. But it's like, that's sort of what we're chasing because there is nothing else. And it's like, even when they say like time stands still, it's like, well, time's moving at the exact same pace. It's just that you're paying no attention to it. There's no space in your memory or in your consciousness to pay attention to time. And it's like, that is that where this feeling comes from? And is that what we're doing? Is like, we're almost addicted to being in that moment? Or is it the fact that it is just this constant challenge that you're never going to get right?
Yeah, I guess it's just completely lost in the moment. Very difficult to do that early on, sometimes in jiu-jitsu, because it's like so frustrating. You come out of it, you know what I mean? But with the right training partners, you can definitely achieve that. Yeah,
no, for sure. What do you make of the announcement? Well, I guess we can't not talk about you and Keenan with the rematch.
Oh yeah, very excited for that.
We got to give this a plug. We can put this on the gram, sell some tickets.
Yeah, very excited for that. I was glad.
Is he gonna play like Worm Guard, like a no-gi version of his Worm Guard?
I saw someone put that up. They said if I was hung enough,
yeah,
he can play Worm Guard. It's just a good match because he beat me at ADCC in this last ADCC, and he's obviously a very well-decorated grappler, so it's a great challenge to get. And I like Keenan as a guy, as a fan, everything. So like to get a match against a guy like that, who's a good guy, you know what I mean? Like it's not a match against someone like Pajares where like if it goes poorly, he's gonna severely injure me.
Yeah,
it's just a really fun match, and it's cool. He wanted to do it at 200 pounds. I'm the champ at 185, so I talked him into making it a 205 pound one for the belt. So I was pretty excited about that as well.
Is it cool, the position that you're in, to where like you can kind of get the fights that you want to get nowadays? Like, is that because I guess, is that what makes ADCC and those comps so good, is that they can like you could be screaming like, I would fuck Leandro Low up, and then Leandro Low is gonna go, sit down, be humble, and you never fucking touch that dude. But like when it happened with you, you go through some ADCC qualifier, wherever, and then bam, you've got Leandro Low, and now you make this crazy name for yourself. Is that the goal, is to get that one fight that breaks you out to now you can fight these people like you have looked up to? I'm sure you've been a fan of Keenan forever.
Oh, forever. That's the beauty, like you touched on it with ADCC. It's like if you're doing regular professional super fights, how is an unknown guy going to get to test himself against a famous guy? Famous guy's going to be like, there's no way in the world. I'm like, what do I have to gain? That's a huge risk. Yes, that's why ADCC is great, because you bring in famous guys. They're forced to fight guys that really earned their spot in that tournament. Some more than others. Obviously, Asia is much easier to ticket to win than Europe or Brazil or America. But they obviously earned their spot in that tournament. And you get to see crazy underdog moments like that take place. Obviously, Eddie did it with Royler Gracie. That's probably the most famous moment like that. That's where ADCC is so special. And I guess the fact that it brings in different styles. A wrestler could win. A submission-only guy could go in there and win. A points fighter can go in there and win. How do you get a points fighter to take a match against a submission-only guy? ADCC is the only time they do it. And the only time they do it where they don't complain about excuses afterwards. And that's, again, bringing it back to Keenan. That's why I got so much respect for Keenan. who's a guy that takes matches in any rule set.
Yeah.
And in any attire. You want him in the gi, he'll take it in the gi. You want him in no gi, he'll take it in no gi.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I felt bad for him this year with the whole world thing because, like, he's still not won a world's black belt. But yeah, you're right. He is that guy that will sort of take anything.
For sure, that world's thing's for him, really. You know what I mean? Because, like, whether he wins it or not, everyone knows he's on that level. It's just he wants that personal accomplishment, like I guess anyone does. But yeah, it's sad that he hasn't won it. He's got the double ADCC silver as well.
Oh, really? But in a bridesmaid dress right next to it.
But another guy that's got a double ADCC silver is Lucas Lepre. He's probably the best gi grappler up there in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes you can be on the cusp. Obviously, everyone thinks you are on that level, but you just haven't quite got that achievement that you're chasing for yourself.
Yeah. How do you think that Gordon's going to do when he starts doing gi stuff? Have you trained with him in the gi in New York?
I trained with him in gi 6 months ago, and I think he's come a long way since then, because I barely put the gi on at all. But from what I've heard about the people he spars with, that he's doing very, very well. And he's such a competitive guy.
Winners win, man. Winners fucking win.
He's too competitive not to do well. Do I think he's going to come out and win black belt worlds first year? Probably not. But is he going to be much more competitive than the average person thinks he will? For sure.
It's such a like weird, wonderful, interesting time in jiu-jitsu because it's like it's just starting to get this shine from like mainstream media. You've got the whole no-gi movement. Then you've got like big name no-gi guys that want to go do the gi, and then you've got guys that are now going into MMA, and they're bringing like this, like, because what was jiu-jitsu in MMA was like, holy fuck, he took his back and choked that dude out. And it's like now that's like day one what you learn in when you go to like an absolute or whatever. And it's like now it's like this whole leg lock thing, and there's all these, you know, crazy different guards and shit that people are playing. And it's like we're going to see that in MMA. Like we saw it with Dylan. I mean, not that the guy he fought was great, obviously, but like he fucking pulled a toe hold off in his debut MMA fight. And then you get like Gary Tonan's going for like these Imanari rolls and shit to end rounds as like a Hail Mary. So it's like it's jiu-jitsu changed the game of martial arts with like the Gracie family. And it's like, is this now like the second coming of jiu-jitsu in a way? Because it's like you've got all these dudes like yourself that grew up in, you know, different countries and whatever, and it's now like you're creating this new thing in jiu-jitsu. It's like, are we gonna see it impact MMA in the same way that the original jiu-jitsu did?
I don't, you know what, I sound negative, but I don't think so. I think the best example of a guy going from jiu-jitsu to MMA in modern times is Damian Maia.
Yeah.
And his style does look nothing like what he would represent in a pure jiu-jitsu format. And it's because MMA is not made for grapplers.
Yeah.
It's made for the fans, and what the fans want, strikers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even in your experience, have you ever rolled with a guy that goes full, keep it playful, Gracie style, just doesn't want to get submitted?
What do you mean? Like just
wants to survive and not get tapped.
Oh, like just hold on and not
just
get
doesn't
tapped.
do anything, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How hard is that guy to tap?
I know. What?
So imagine, as a grappler, going into a MMA fight, you've got 5 minutes.
He's doing that and
you got to take a guy down. You got to progress on the ground and not get stood back up, and submit a guy that only wants to hold on to you to get stood back up. You'd have to be goddamn Rafa Mendes to be able to be effective and assist a rule set like that. It'd be unrealistic to expect you to be able to do that. So that's why I think it'd be very, very difficult. And I get all the credit to these guys for transitioning. Yeah. But ultimately, the ones that are successful, their styles aren't going to reflect
what they would do in jiu-jitsu.
Their jiu-jitsu styles.
I think, like, you look at Gary Tonan, like, his last fight was pretty sick, and I respect him a lot because he's gone into bang. Like, there's guys where obviously they're not even fucking close to the level of grappling, and I mean, but there's definitely an aspect of it to where, like, man, if Gordon Ryan gets you on the ground and can punch the fuck out of you, like, are you getting up from that?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like, he don't have to be heel hooking dudes to be insanely effective in MMA, because it's like, not that he's the level of grappler that Khabib is, it's a totally different style of where he come from, but like, you've been underneath that dude when he's trying to make you shit bone fragments. Like, you're fucking pretty well stuck, and you add in some big elbows and punches, and he's not a small dude anymore. It's like, I don't know, is maybe that like a new level of control something that could like influence it, and maybe it's not just heel hooks and toe holds and all that shit.
But also he will be coming up against a level of wrestling unseen in the jiu-jitsu world.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We got Olympic gold medalists competing in MMA now.
Like Henry Cejudo, like what he did to Mighty Mouse, that was pretty impressive. And it's not like Mighty Mouse can't wrestle.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think Gordon Ryan, obviously he's so competitive, he's gonna find a way to win. Yeah, winners are gonna find a way to win.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. It was I think the way, like what Gary's done has to give him a lot of confidence too, because of the way that like Gary's really went in there and like wants to stand up with dudes. And even after like maybe it was his last fight, but like he took a couple pretty big shots and I was like,
yeah, the first punch of the fight.
Yeah, he got fucking rocked, But he didn't then just go straight into like defensive jiu-jitsu mode. He wanted to like stick in there.
No, I mean, if you watch his grappling style, the guy's a savage, so it doesn't surprise me that he's gonna be able to take a hit.
Yeah, definitely. So what is like next for you, or not next, but like you've obviously like reached a point where you didn't think you'd ever reach before, right? So it's like
for sure, but just pursuing the ADCC gold medal. That's all I'm focused on right now. In the foreseeable future, all these super fights are all good fun and to keep my name relevant and stuff, but that's definitely the ultimate goal. Yeah. So I've competed a lot this year. Next year I'll compete less and really focus on developing the skills to get that gold medal.
Are you like, how much do you care about taking an L in these super fights? Do you think it hurts your stock?
Depends how you take the loss, I think.
But in the art, like, I mean, you can take it however you want, but you can't control other people's perceptions of that loss.
I mean, depends, like, who beats you? How did they beat you? You know what I mean? That all really plays a factor. How did you take that loss? Like, etc. How much shit did you talk before? Because the fans will turn on you then.
So I guess, like, maybe your style then lends itself towards a guy that can lose, right? Because, like, you look at a dude... Because, like, I don't feel like anyone's rooting for you to lose. I think people are, like, I said it before, I guess, like, people are going in there and they're like, fuck yeah, let's watch Craig Jones do his thing. But there's a lot of people that are watching, like, an AJ or a Dylan or even, like, Gordon to, like, they want him to lose. And traditionally, playing the heel in martial arts, like, you've got the fucking hero and the heel. And the heel's always going to get the fights, but people are going to kind of want to have that person lose. And I think that this is like a situation Connor's almost getting into now, where it's like a loss like really, really hurts his stock. And it's probably because he is so out there about winning that when he loses it like makes it look way worse. So it's like, do you think that your style just kind of lends itself to like you almost...
It does, but it's capped. It's capped at interest. Do you know what I mean? Is a guy that doesn't talk shit ever going to get as many views as a guy like Conor McGregor?
But I think... Like, do you think just the way that, like, let's say Conor talked no shit before Jose Aldo and still did the same thing. Do you still think, you don't think that would be as, like, holy fuck, as if he talked all that shit and then did that? Or does Jose not even get into that predicament of being able to get sparked in 14 seconds, 13 seconds or whatever it was without the shit talk?
It's tricky to think about, hey. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you can captivate the mainstream audience without being an aggressive personality, without either creating guys that really, really want you to win or really, really want you to lose.
Are you interested at all in that combat jiu-jitsu? Because you
not at all.
You don't want to do it too pretty.
Oh, it's like, I mean, I don't want to talk shit about those guys. I respect it for what it is, but I mean, I don't think MMA fighters respect the combat grapplers, and I don't think the jiu-jitsu guys respect.
It's like caught in the middle in a weird spot,
it's right in the middle, but it doesn't mean it can't be something in and of itself.
Yeah, because I definitely think, like, I obviously love jiu-jitsu. I watch all the Polaris and Kasai events, and I'll watch whatever I can, basically. But I'm really not stressing if I miss an EBI combat jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and it's sad that they're all every male event is a combat jiu-jitsu event now.
Yeah.
Every female event remains without slaps. That's bizarre to me.
And bitches are the ones that love slapping.
Yeah.
And the slaps.
That'll attract a mainstream audience. Women slapping each other, I think.
Fucking oath, dude. And like allow hair pulling. Let's get some of that shit going. But no, that is like a weird one. I want to like it. I mean, I'd love to like it because it would, again, give me more shit to watch.
Gordon's going to do it. I think people are going to watch them. I was joking around. I was like, I should enter it when Gordon does, just to get one good slap on him and then quit.
Just to have one good shot and then pressure tap.
Yeah, then I'll be like, nah, you're done, man. You didn't get to slap me back.
He'll do pretty well in that shit. What do you get into much like outside of jiu-jitsu, or is it pretty all encompassing of what you've got going on?
I haven't had much time to do anything else this year.
I was going to say, like, there's probably just not time, right?
I just try and enjoy the cities I'm in, do tourist stuff, but for the most part, adjusting to jet lag, teaching seminars, training, lifting weights.
So it's at this point, there's sort of not a lot of room mentally for you to kind of be into other shit.
No, not really.
Are you into other stuff though?
Nothing like, and I guess nothing like in the sense of jiu-jitsu. I like to go watch movies and escape the stress of this life sometimes, you know what I mean? That's why I let it distract myself from the jiu-jitsu world a lot.
Yeah, but there's not, like, you don't have these kind of other avenues that you sort of follow.
No, not really.
But I guess that is probably what lends to the way that you are able to, like, the things that you're able to do, you know? Are you thinking about, like, new techniques, or, like, because it's safe to say now, like, Z-guard is like a thing, right? And essentially it's half guard and knee shield, and then you can lock that knee shield, but it is now a new thing because it's almost like there's a system around it, right?
Oh, yeah. Am I thinking of new things? No, Z-guard just came about as a way, like another exploitation to win, you know what I mean? And a position that there are attacks from that's neglected. But in terms of other areas, I think
like, how does that come about? Like, it's not like this conscious decision where you're like flow charting moves. Did it just start to work for you, and then you just start to path of least resistance? Like, you're going towards this triangle from Z-guard seems to be fucking up everyone, so it's like, let's go from that, and then you slowly hone that, like, sharpen that blade against more and more people. Yeah,
well, that's the only move I did at purple belt. I probably hit 100 Z-guard triangles between blue to brown belt. And that's the only move I used to do. In competition, yeah. And then just, that's the thing. I think it's like someone said at one time where it was like, you got to learn how to get good at one thing before you can get good at anything else. So I became very good at that position, and then tried to apply how I got good at that position to other areas. But in terms of trying to figure out what's coming next, I think just everyone's working on the highest level, just taking the back. Different paths to the back and wrestling. That's what's going to win you ADCC, because, like, realistically, guys aren't going to tap to heel hooks, straight ankle locks, knee bars, arm bars. They're going to let a lot of shit break. The only thing they can't let break is
you can't control the blood going to your brain, right?
Exactly. And the safest position to try and choke someone from is definitely going to be either on top or on their back. So, like, trying to find chokes from bottom triangle, much harder in ADCC when you can slam as well. And against very athletic guys, it's going to be very difficult.
So when you choke Leandro from the back, that was your game plan, was to get to his back?
The game plan was to attack the legs.
Okay.
But then,
but like we talked about before, it just opens opportunities, right?
Yeah, opens opportunities to sweep, and he defended the sweep, leading to the back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting that you said that about because, I mean, I struggle with, like, I don't really want to be on top ever. Like, it's not my world. I'm not that. Again, it's not like I've been doing it that long, but that to me seems super foreign. And, like, I can watch stuff that you're doing, and I can go and apply if it's like offensive or a sweep from my back. But as soon as I get, like, when you did that Kit Dale video that you two did, like, I fast forward the Kit shit, not because it's Kit, but because I'm like, I can't fucking remember that shit. Like, I can't see it, you know, like, when, you know, for instance, like, you're in the flow tank or whatever, and it's like I can literally watch myself do attacks off the bottom or sweeps off the bottom, but then, like, I trained at Absolute on Tuesday night and, like, fully forgot the pass that Lockie taught. Completely gone. And it's like, I wonder what that is, to where it's like that bottom sweep attack thing is so easy for me to memorize, but the top passing and top pressure, and, you know, even in mount, I'm like, if I get to mount, I'm like, fuck, I need to get off this bitch. Like, this isn't the place I want to play from, you know? So it's like, I wonder what that is.
It's just not what you're interested in right now, you know what I mean? You're focused on working from the bottom, and that's fine. I didn't think I knew a guard pass until purple belt. I didn't even think I knew how to pass guard until I came to Melbourne. I would just play guard, just do whatever I'm effective at, I would do it. So it's not, like, as long as you become well-rounded over time, it's fine.
And how did you then switch to, like, passing? What was it that helped you get your head around it?
You just need that to win.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's just,
And so did you just get to a point where you were so like confident with what you were doing off your back and on the ground where you're like, well, I kind of don't feel like I need to spend as much time working on that, right?
Well, passing's the best. It's the easiest thing to work on in sparring because you can pass a guy's guard and let him get his guard back in like a second, and then you can give it another crack.
Yeah.
It's hard to sweep a guy, just let him sweep you back, sweep a guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very easy to work on passing, get good at passing. Keep passing a guy as guard you're better than over and over again, practice.
Yeah, okay,
so you can find a way to enjoy it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because for me, like, I mean, I've started trying to drill it, and like, generally the days before comps and stuff, like, I'll sort of work on passing. But even then, I'm like there was one comp I did, and I had like a very definitive like strength advantage, even though we're obviously in the same weight class. And I got on top, and I got triangled, and I was just like, dude, why the fuck am I on top? And then I ended up fighting that dude in the final, and I just went straight to the bottom, and then I swept him, and then I literally let the dude sweep me back, so I was on the bottom again. And then
that's a common thing. That's what I used to do. Like, I would sweep, and I'd be scared to be on top, so I'd fall back. I wouldn't complete the sweep.
Really? Yeah, it's just but you see some guys like Andrew, a friend of mine who trains at St Kilda. He loves top game shit and loves that top pressure. So I guess you're right. It's just like that kind of interest that you like, whatever's kind of captivating you at the time.
And that's why you got to be careful to cut someone off at what they're interested in, because if they don't like playing guard and you force them to do that before they're ready, then suddenly they might not show up to training as much.
Have you, like, when you came to Absolute and met Lockie, was that like a super definitive part of your development to have a guy like him on his level and kind of like being around that environment?
Oh, for sure, Lockie, and the fact that he had a lot of high-level competitors there. We had a community of guys all chasing the same thing. That was something that really, I don't think at the time anywhere else in Australia had. Yeah,
and still maybe doesn't, would you say?
I wouldn't say to the same...
Not to the same level,
yeah.
Huh? And did you know that coming into it, that like you sought that gym out, or were you like...
Yeah, we went there.
It was a luck.
I went there to train for a training camp for Nogi Worlds, and before the camp, I'd only taken vacation from work, and before the camp before the camp ended, he had already offered me a position to stay there and teach. So I just didn't go back to work, just up and moved to Melbourne.
Yeah, what work were you doing before you did this? Like, what did you think your life would look like before this shit?
What was it? I was working at a liquor store, like a bottle-o at the time.
Really? No shit.
And before that I was at university studying psychology. So I would do...
that makes sense.
I would study psych, I would work at a bottle-o, and I would train at the same time.
Yeah, okay. The psychology thing makes sense, because I feel like, I guess just to circle fully back to the start, like there is a unique thing that you do when it comes to competitions. And I feel like if you could say, like if say tomorrow at Pampax, if I could do it, I would go do what you do. I'd look like I don't give a fuck. I would, like straight up, like the way that I would describe it is, it's like you're cool that you're about to lose. And you've just got, there's no chance I can win. Hey man, what's up? Let's do this. Fucking let's get it over quick, and I'll go and eat a hot dog. That's like the vibe that you put out. And I mean, I don't know if it's just accurate or whatever.
Practice.
But yeah, it makes sense. Like that to me is like the best case way to approach it. And I've even had, like, I mean, and I'm not, like I said, it's weird for me because I knew the spot I was going to finish. But in jiu-jitsu, it's like, you don't know where you're going to finish. Like, you can tap anyone, especially, and in the thing with comps is like, really with the belt system, you should be at a similar level. Theoretically, your weight's the same, your size your strength should be within the same ballpark. And it's like, if you're at a gym and you've got purple belts at your gym and you're a white belt, then you have harder rolls than this dude's going to give you. That's the theory behind it. So it's like, it really shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it really is like the ultimate fear of the unknown, because you just really don't know what these guys are sort of going to bring to you. So, and I mean, I've had comps where I'm like, all right, I didn't listen to music the last comp and I just didn't feel amped up, so I'm going to listen to the most gangster shit I can and be hyped as fuck. And then I'm like fucking bouncing my head around and I'm all hyped up, take my headphones off, it's quiet, there's nothing there, and I'm like, fuck, I just spent half an hour with headphones on trying to make myself fired up, but you take them, you can't fight with that shit in your head.
Well, if you don't do that before you train, why are you doing it before you compete?
See, there you go. That's like major shit. I don't know that shit. I'm not that guy.
If you get amped up, you're going to gas out very quickly. Another good thing is some people compete without warming up. I feel like I do sprints before I compete, about 20, 25 minutes out, 20, 25, 30, and then I want to feel the exhaustion at least one time before I compete. And then I feel like I don't get the adrenaline dump when I go out there as much.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I've struggled with is like just the warm-up thing. And I hate, like, every time I've won a comp, I've lost the first roll.
Yeah.
And had a chance to come back and win. And I fucking hate that you just don't, like this comp tomorrow, like if you lose, you lose. And I really hate that that's like a thing. And because I struggle to warm up at the start, nerves wise, and I'm like, well, what the fuck do I even do? Like, do I do a couple hip escapes? Like, you know. You
got to get breathlessness, I think.
You think that that's the move then. And so sprints are what kind of helps you do that. What else do you do that you found that calmed nerves or got you in the right headspace? Like, are you a guy that thinks about, you know, I'm going to do this particular guard pull, then I'm going to go straight to this, and if he does, like, are you...
I have a loose game plan, but nothing too specific, no.
Yeah. And I guess that comes from being well-rounded too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Unless obviously my opponent's got a glaring weakness that you want to exploit. But apart from that, no, I don't like too specific a game plan, because if it goes poorly, it goes very poorly.
And then you've got no room to...
if you're like, I'm going to come out, I'm going to pull De La Riva guard, I'm going to do this sweep, and you come out and he pulls guard, then you're flustered. You're behind the 8 ball already.
Yeah, it makes sense. Did Lockie have much to do with like any of the mental side, or like did you see him as like a mentor when you sort of first got there, and like really, because I honestly see like similarities in your mannerisms and stuff, and obviously it comes from just how much time you guys would have spent together over the years, right? But did you see him as like that mentor sort of figure, or?
Yeah, for sure. He was doing what I wanted to do with my life. You know what I mean? In terms of competition, I didn't think anything other than build me up confidence-wise to make you believe you're on that level. Yeah,
okay. So like having a guy that was as high level as him, and then you're in the gym giving him a hard time, and that's like a guilty by association feeling to where you kind of pictured yourself being on that level. Yeah,
well, I mean, you trust their opinion. If some random white belt's telling you you're amazing, you're gonna beat this guy and stuff, you're like, you know what I mean? But if someone that's beaten high level guys is explaining to you, and trained with high level guys explaining to you you're on the level, then it means something entirely different.
Yeah, you can actually, it's worth something because it's substantiated.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely like a crazy game to play. And it's like that, the accountability of like being on that mat, and you know there is that thing of like everybody watching. There's obviously like the element of getting hurt and everything that kind of comes along with it too. So I think that's maybe one of the things that has been so interesting to me is it's just shit you can't really prepare for. And I mean, have you ever thought about what it must feel like to be Conor McGregor, like with how the nerves and the stuff that you deal with for a jiu-jitsu match that like realistically no one's fucking watching? Like, can you imagine what he's going through?
Yeah, he seems to thrive off it though. He loves it, right?
Do you think that that's a personality type, or is that a psychological mastery?
I think it's a bit of both, but I think he's been planning these moments for his entire life. I mean, I remember he was speaking with before he was even famous, he'd speak with a pen in his mouth, so that when he would approach American audiences, he would speak in a language that they could understand. So like, this has been his intentions for a very long time, I think. You know what I mean? He's been building up to these moments.
Where do you think that comes from in a person? I guess it could come from a lot of places, but like, we see him in interviews. Like, where do you think it comes from in a guy like that?
It's hard to say. Hey, it's hard to say what motivates him. If you looked at his Instagram, it's just be money, right?
Yeah, but that's not what it is, because he's got money.
I hear stories about him. The SBG guys were telling me that he shows up to the gym sometimes midnight, 1 a.m. to train.
They say that about Floyd. They reckon Floyd is like that. Because even Floyd, like, it can't be money. I mean, fuck, I could see Floyd blowing a lot of money, though, to where, like, he probably looks at his account and goes, like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll fight again. But yeah. I guess it's like, fuck, it'd be so hard to say no. Like, imagine if, like, even if you've got $500 million in the account, someone's like, dude, just one more fight, you get $300 million. Be pretty hard to say no to that, right? Like, that's some pretty fucking serious money.
I don't think you'll get another fight like Conor, though. Hey,
you don't. Yeah, there's real. Like, who else would he fight? I think Conor's like the ultimate fire and ice thing for him.
That'll probably be one of the biggest purses in history. Hey.
Yeah, like, I guess it's hard to see, but it's like, you probably, if you think about it in terms of like, what did it take to get a Floyd Mayweather? Like, it took 49 fights, undefeated, Money Mayweather, fucking, he was pop culture, people would sing and rap about him. Like, he really crossed the boundaries unlike any other boxer ever. Like, even more than, like, maybe Mike Tyson, but it was different. Like, there was something that was different about him. And then you can say the exact same thing about Conor. And it's like, to have those two people in two separate, totally separate worlds.
In something that's never happened before.
Yeah, and then they come together. Like, it'd be super hard to replicate that.
Now if an MMA fighter jumps into the boxing ring, we've seen it before.
It's always going to be the sequel.
The only crazy thing would be if Floyd jumped in the cage, but he never would.
Can't do it. He'd just get fucking murdered. It'd be there. That'd be bad.
But talking about how much money boxers make, it just sucks. I saw Canelo got the highest paid sporting contract in history the other day.
Really?
He signed a 5-year deal with DAZN, that TV network. It was worth like $350 million.
Fuck, dude. We're living in a weird time with sport to where, like, do you follow the NFL at all?
No.
Dude, I'm fucking all about that shit. I didn't, because I was in the States for like 7 years, and for the first 4, I was just like, fuck all of you. Like, you guys are pussies. This is some bullshit. And every fucking barbecue I went to, like, I was that guy that was telling everyone how shit it was and how good rugby was. And then it was like 4 years of that nonsense. And then I started dating a girl that her dad was like hard fucking core. Like, Thursday night was football, Saturday was college football, Sunday was the NFL, then there was Monday night football, and then on Thursday that cycle started again. So I know I was just like, I ain't coming in here with this bullshit. So I had to sit down and pretend to like it for fucking however long it took. And I really started to like it because, not even just for the game, man, but for like the accessories that are around the game in terms of like the athletes, and like, they've all got their own crazy brands. And like, basketball's the same over there too. I just think black people have like way more swag too. Like, just kind of across the board, they can do more. But it was crazy to watch you get sucked into a sport for like all the auxiliary shit that went around it. And there's a dude called Odell Beckham. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's like the guy with like the white hair, and he's just a freak. Does all like the crazy one-handed catches. Like, his highlight reel is ridiculous. You'd be like, oh, that's a computer game. But he signed I can't remember the deal. It was like $96 million for like 3 years.
That's crazy.
And he's like 23. But it's like, his stat, so that made him the highest paid wide receiver of all time, but his stats don't reflect that. But what reflects that is, like, if you listen to Drake, obviously, like, that's the dude that Drake raps about all the time. Like, he's become like this pop culture dude.
Yeah, so they'll pay it so they get the fans in the seats, hey. Yeah,
and it's like, that's a different time. Like, before, we were just paid off stats. And I think that now you're seeing that in every sport, and like that whole social media thing we were talking about, where it's like, you know, you really can see like money come out of social media. It's like, sport now seems like it's way more than just the contest itself.
Oh, for sure. I mean, in Jiu Jitsu, there's a lot of black belt world champions that I see post on Instagram looking for seminars, asking for seminars. I mean, if it was based off stats alone, I shouldn't be getting any seminars. You know what I mean? So it's like, if they're a black belt world champion struggling to make money in this sport, then they're not utilizing all the tools available correctly.
Yeah, and there's this new thing, right? Like, people always ask me about like, what's the next big thing? What's going to be? Is it video games? Is it esports? Is MMA just going to keep being like the biggest fucking sport or whatever? And I honestly think that we're in this like really weird place where we like fucking watch people. Like, that's what we do now. We just watch people. Like that Cash Me Outside chick.
Yeah.
We just fucking watch her.
I ran into her in a mall in America.
Are you serious?
Yeah, me and my friend ran into her in LA somewhere. But
she's always at the Grove. Was it at the Grove?
I can't remember, but I remember we were in a store and she was there with a bodyguard. And
big motherfucker.
Yeah, she went in and paid for a couple little girls, like complete outfits and shit. We didn't know who it was. We tried to go get a photo with her, but she wouldn't take a photo with us.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, that chick, like...
She's worth millions now, right?
And we just watch her. Like, it's... And now, like, do you follow much, like, rap? Like, what music are you into?
Yeah, rap, hip-hop.
So, like, you look at a dude like Tekashi 6ix9ine, right? Like, his music is actually pretty sick. I'm ashamed to admit that. Like, I listen to...
It's funny what starts out as painful to listen to that you can grow to enjoy.
It's crazy. But what I wonder is, like, is that just because we enjoy, like, the whole theatrics of, like, what he's got going on. Like, he's got these crazy fucking grills. He gets these face tattoos that we're all like, holy shit, like, this kid's fucking crazy. Then he's talking mad shit on, like, everybody. And it's like, you want to not watch because intellectually you're like, this is straight retarded. Like, what the fuck are we looking at? But it's like that car crash. Like, you want to look away, but you can't. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And it's like, the music is secondary to that. And it's like, I feel like that's what's almost happening in sport to, like, a small extent. Like, you've obviously still got to be good enough to pay the bills. And, like, if AJ Agazarm, for example, was, like, completely dog shit, then it's like, and he's talking all that shit, like, people aren't going to pay attention. But the fact that he is good and then does all that, it's like, it's like the brand that we're following now. It's like we're subscribed to a channel, and it's this AJ Agazarm channel. And because you watch him all the time,
it's like
he's your first story. Yeah, it's like this it's a weird world, right? And I think that is like the next best thing. And you look at like Logan Paul, like, people just watch him, and now he just sold 5 million pay-per-views on a YouTube fight.
Yeah, I mean, I that's sad because it's like, I don't hate it because it's like, obviously let him make money, but hopefully it doesn't overtake real sports. But I guess you never want to.
But like, what is real sport?
You wouldn't want to pay Logan Paul to play NFL, would you?
No.
But you'd want to watch him fight. So I guess that's the only thing there. But hopefully, I mean, celebrity boxing matches have been around forever, but none like this. None
and they like actually trained and shit. And you know what? He looked pretty good, really.
He wants an MMA match as well, right?
I'll probably give it to him.
See, it works. See, we talk about it.
Yeah, but that's like, that is the next thing. And even like, who was the dude that did that that stand-up thing? Maybe it was Chris Rock, and he's like, love rap music, tired of defending it, because it's like, it's fucking. And like, have you ever been in a club and you see like that, move bitch, get out the way, or it's like, my neck, my back, like, it's just the most disgusting shit that, like, if you walked up to a chick in a mall and were like, hey, I want to lick your back, your neck, your pussy, and your crack, what the fuck kind of reaction would that get?
Well, I always imagine the crazy feminists out there. I always imagine they still dance and listen to rap music. Dude,
100%. I fucking see these chicks.
I want to catch a video of them dancing to it or something.
I had a chick Thursday night, and I've been wanting to talk about this, and I fucking haven't talked about it. This chick, we were at a club, and one of our friends was talking to a chick, right? And then she said something about a protein shake, right? And then our friend, who's drunk and trying to fucking hit on her, is going like, oh, I could give you a protein shake. Oh. And then this fucking full-blown, like, quintessential cliche feminist chick turns around. She was at the booth behind us, and she's like, I think the chick had a pretty good comeback and, like, shut my mate down, and we were all like, oh, I got him. And then this feminist chick turns around and she was like, you fucking tell him, like, just spray, dude, like, full-blown spray. And I was looking at this chick and I was like, fuck, that's the stereotype. Like, that's this world, like, feminism exists because of you, like, you're the fucking thing. And then it was like 10 minutes later, she's white girl wasted and she's dancing to that fucking Pony song.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, here's the thing. The dude that wrote that fucking song,
you can't have it both ways.
Dude, it's so, but that's like, that seems like everything these days. It's like, the bad thing about social media is it almost like rewards people's negativity, right? And it's like, or have you ever been with a chick where you're not giving her enough attention, so she'll start a fight just to get attention? She'd rather have a date kind of attention to where it's like just you and her.
Right, have negative attention than no attention, yeah.
Exactly. And that's probably a big part of psychology, I guess. But like, I see that shit all the time, and I think that that's what this whole thing that we're doing with this feminism and like hardcore vegan activists and hardcore fucking anything. It's like, I'm not getting good attention, and I'm not getting attention at all. So like, let's just get some bad attention, and fuck it, it's attention.
For sure.
It's crazy that that's a thing, but it's like social media is like allowed that to be a thing now.
Yeah, it's put you in control of it. You don't need anyone else to censor anything that goes up.
Do you don't seem like the kind of guy that really censors a lot of the stuff that like you've got going on, but I guess you just aren't really posting that much shit in general.
Yeah, I wouldn't put anything too political online. You know what I mean? It just alienates. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I mean, you can't judge a person solely on their views too. So it's like you could, I guess, alienate people that otherwise would never have a problem with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's probably a good way to be. It's fucking fun though to be a troll.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any troll moments?
Sometimes. Because
I can't say that with Pal Harris you were trolling. That was just pretty funny. And a lot of you were like reposting shit that people were saying, really.
Yeah. Reshare. Hopefully share their memes so they create more memes.
Yeah.
If anyone shares a good meme about me, I'm going to post it for sure. Even if it's negative towards me.
Do you think that you're just so laid back that like maybe something that would like get under somebody's skin, which then like gives them that reaction that then creates like the follow on? Do you just think that you're too laid back to kind of give a fuck?
Yeah, I just appreciate it because growing up, we would say the most brutal shit to each other. You know what I mean? That's why I don't understand people that are so sensitive. You know what I mean? Did you grow up in a pure childhood? Like, did your friends never pick on you and stuff? Like, I think you should say the worst things to your friends, things that insulates them from getting offended by other people.
Well, that's like people that like won't let their kids watch a scary movie or something until they're like 15, and then you're the kid at the fucking sleepover that doesn't want to go to sleep because you're scared of the dark after your mates all made you watch a horror movie. It's like that, like that insulation thing, eh?
You don't want to be too protected.
Yeah, but it is that there is just like that reward system for getting pissed off, and because there's always someone, like when you're pissed off, all you want is someone else to be pissed off with you.
Yeah, if someone insults you and you get angry, you've validated their insult. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that's the reaction that you were looking for. Yeah, dude, I remember even like people come to my house and it's like, have you got to get out of here soon, or?
I think I gotta go lift weights. Isn't it down there?
Getting fucking swole.
Yeah, I better train it. I got to rehab injuries, but I won't say what injuries.
Oh yeah. When's your next thing? We'll wrap it up. It's the Keenan thing in December.
Keenan, December 9th in Wales.
Let's talk some shit. Come on, let's go.
Talk some shit about Keenan.
Fuck this guy. Oh wait,
Keenan's
you know what?
I'm
gonna cancel my fucking Keenan subscription. There you go.
I'm disappointed you had one.
Nah, come on, talk some shit. It's hard.
It's hard to talk shit about Keenan. Keenan's, he's a funny guy. He's a fun guy.
What do you think? You're just like, make a trailer out of this shit. He's a fucking super nice dude. What way do you see that fight going?
Different to the first one. I'll come in with I'll mix up the game plan a bit for this one. But we got a solid 15 minutes to work, but 15 minutes ref's decision. So it's an interesting rule set. Obviously, it's not like Gordon and Keenan. They had like a 90-minute match.
That was gnarly, dude.
I'm about 15 minutes is about the limit now. I don't want to do any more matches over 15 minutes.
Why is that?
Because if someone hasn't displayed better technique by 10 minutes, then it's just the guy with better cardio.
Yeah.
And usually when a guy gasses out and gets submitted, I mean, we're not that impressed by that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe a clutch moment where they're both still fighting, but when a guy's just like, oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, well, all right, we'll wrap it up. We've done 2 hours and 10 minutes. Craig Jones, I am yeah, I'm glad you made this happen. This, like I said, this was like a super selfish podcast. So very sorry for all those people out there that don't play fucking Z-Guard or give a shit about any of what we talked about. There will be more Gypsy Tales. And actually tell people about your seminar.
My seminar?
Sorry, not seminar. Your camp in
I got
Thailand.
a camp, yeah, 2 weeks in Thailand. There's still places available. November 4th, all on the Absolute MMA Thailand website. Other than that, DVDs are available. And you guys can find me on Instagram. Most of my social media is on Instagram. Basically nothing else.
And I will tell from personal experience, I obviously haven't been to Craig's camp. I went to Lockie's camp. That was a couple months ago. Any level of athlete can get a lot out of a camp that's a week long with world-class instruction at a great facility. I think that there's something to be said for staying in a resort, training twice a day, and not actually having anything else in your head than jiu-jitsu.
And it'll be a wild time. Last time a guy got arrested and 2 guys got my name tattooed on them. So
is it going to be that wild this time? Probably, right?
I don't know. I should be training for the Keenan match, but we'll find out.
Why do you just attract that fucking loose crowd? There was none of that shit at Lockie's camp. What is it with you? What is it with that?
I don't know.
You just attract some fucking degenerates. All right, well, fuck Craig Jones, everybody, and thank you very much for coming on the podcast, brother. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
Sweet. Cheers, dude. Sorry about that.